Good, Mayor.
Notice is hereby given that a special workshop council meeting of the town of Laguna Vista, Texas will be held Tuesday, the 27th day of August, 2019 at 6 o'clock p.m. in City Hall Building at 122 Fernandez Street, Laguna Vista, Texas. At which time the following items will be discussed. Call to order at 6 o'clock. Please rise for the invocation.
Dear Lord, thank you that we can gather here today to discuss the budget for the city. I pray for us with wisdom and discernment. Help us make good decisions and sound decisions. Help us seek your word and know the way you are leading us. Bless this meeting, bless all these people, Lord. Thank you that we have the privilege of serving in such a great city. In Jesus' name, amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
Roll call. Alma.
Mayor Susie Hughes here. Council members Michael Carter.
Here.
Siobhan Howard.
Here.
Frank Davalos. Rolando Gonzalez.
Here.
And Victor Worrell.
Here.
And Nadine Smith here.
Item 4, discussion, consideration, possible action on each of the following items. Item A, 2019-20 budget. Rolando.
Council, thank you for being here on this special meeting, this workshop. I'm going to ask that you put aside those binders you have and look at these. You have a hard copy of these. And you have this one. Bare bones. Well, let me tell you where the changes took place. Because the one on the binder, the budget on the binder includes the current, the revenues, the property taxes from the current rate. At the last council meeting, you talked about adopting the same current tax rate, which means there would be an increase in the budget. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. The one hard copy you have there shows a budget of 1.8. That includes the $166,000 increase as a result in the event you adopt the current tax rate. Remember, we saw an increase of 5% on taxable value. So if you adopt the current tax rate, it's going to result in an increase, the difference between revenues and expenses from 166,000. You may ask, well, why does it show 152? Because on the budget you have, it had revenue, it had expenditures or revenues of 13,000. So you subtract 13,000 from 166, it's a difference of 152. Why do I highlight this? This is revenues over expenditures. On that budget you have, page 4, there's an account titled contingencies. I put that 152,000 there for contingencies. So what I would like to know, let me give a comparison. Councilmember Carter and I chatted about this, and I wanted to bring this out to you so you can compare it. Current budget, the original budget was 1.7. The amended budget increased by 72,000 to 1.785. Question may be asked, why the increase? We had an increase in fire grants, and so that increased the budget. The proposed budget that is in front of you is 1.8. So you may ask, why the difference, the increase from this to this? It's that 166,000 increase. It's due to that increase in taxable value. So the higher the taxable value, the more revenues generate. So I just wanted to show that as a comparison. The budget that you have there is bare bone budget. No salary increases, no capital outlays. On this form, on this handout that's also in your binder, I included the bare bones budget highlights, explaining to you the various differences on the various departments. And then I went into the requests that the departments have. And let me point out those requests. Let me show them to you. I have Alexia. So as you consider that $152,000 revenues or expenditures, on that handout that you have, that's also in your binder, we talked about the front desk renovations. Chief David is asking for a police officer. Why is it in red? Blue means one-time expenditures. Red means we add it to the operating. Chief David, and he can explain, he's here, he can explain why he feels he needs an officer. Fire department, our fire chief and Chief David are here. They're not in a specific order, but I know talking to the fire chief and the both chiefs, they talk about fire hydrants. On this handout is a list of fire hydrants. How many of them? 15, and they're prioritized. And I made a reference on the cost of those. Some of those, once you go in there, it may be a minor repair, or it may be a major repair where we have to replace them. The range, that's why I put $2,000 to $7,000 for a fire hydrant. Fire station repairs, I know there was a discussion about at the last meeting. Fire truck repairs, there's a quote on repairing the fire truck, number 2. And I know our fire chief had talked about Lifeline arm. And he had a demonstration at our Independence Day event, this yellow unit that compresses your chest. Library, Huda's here. She's been saying, Mr. Vela, we need to repaint the building. And there's some repairs to the roof that are needed. And Mr. Willie, Public Works, he actually has binders that he's prepared. He's prepared to show you how much we've actually spent on maintenance on one of the Public Works truck. So he's asking for a new truck. So the ones in blue again, the ones in blue are one-time expenses. The one in red, that becomes part of the operating budget. So these things are pointed out on that handout that you have. This is a history, so I'm going over some of those things that are on that report. This is the history of salary increases, the last 3 years, which is on that handout. And this is the impact. I know Mike was looking at this spreadsheet, and Alma and I were going over it, a little confusing. Salary increases, 1%. That's the impact, with the exception of the city manager. 3%, 21,000. 5%, 35,000. So these, when you include this in the budget, any of these, should you decide, it becomes part of the operating budget. So I'll be more than glad to address any questions you may have. This is with regards to the budget that you have. I know Nadine and Mike had asked.
This increase thing is garbage. So,
I mean,
it is.
well, that's very confusing.
It's not confusing, it's just wrong.
Yeah, because we included the actual, what is it about the,
Your
On
insurance,
the-
you put the gross amount, you didn't put the increase amount.
so when we did, we clarified that, and here it is. At the last meeting, there was a discussion that you wanted the budget, you wanted to show the budget, the actuals, and compare it to the proposed. Again, it's a very good budget, so we have not.
What did you, this was right
Okay.
here, this rubber?
Well, if you look here in if you look at this, the increases for salaries is 94,000, 108,000, 122,000.
What paper are you holding?
This like right behind this, yeah, there's a
Okay.
schedule of
Page one.
increases.
Page one.
Oh. Yeah, we're asking
And
that
then-
you put that aside, that's,
Yeah,
that's confusing.
It's not even, it's not confusing, it's flat out wrong.
So
This
this,
is-
Is wrong, the math is wrong?
Yes,
so this is what you're looking at, a salary increase. Now, what the council has done in the past on one-time expenditures, like a boat, a car, the council in the past has used reserves for that. It's also used the operating fund for units. So the direct reports are here to address any questions you may have with regards to the budget, with regards to the requests that they've made for your consideration.
thank you, Aldo. Mike?
okay. Guys, I talked to the city manager this afternoon or this morning, and I I asked him for the summary totals, so we could just look at the budget as a, you know, people, 10,000 feet, right? And so, this sheet shows, the first line is the current budget that we have, right? And it shows that at the end, the proposed ending fund balance, okay? This is what we're currently working on. This is, the next line is the actual expenditures through August 19th.
August 9th, last Monday.
Okay, so, right, so amount of 10 and a half months. And then the next line is your balance. Okay, and the next is your percent spent. I put remaining because I was messing around with how I wanted to show it, but it's actually percent spent, not remaining. Okay? And I highlighted what I think are high, versus what it should have been, right? 10 and a half months should have been 87.5%. Okay, so just to show. And then the last column is the proposed budget. That's the summary of all these sheets here, by department. And the difference between the amended budget and then the proposed budget is that final line there. And I kind of
Is the change?
highlighted what I thought was kind of important.
And when it's in parentheses, that means it's.
It's a negative. It's lowered. Right?
Lowered.
Yeah, so
So it's under the last.
you can see the police, the budget was $39,000 less. The fire is $78,500 less. But our revenue is increased by 89.
There's extra.
Well, at the end of the day, there's,
They could be.
we have $152,000 to play with at the moment.
And these numbers, these are totals for the department, including salaries and other expenditures,
That are included in this.
Yes.
Yes, as of now.
but without any increases, without a
Yes,
3% raise.
exactly, with no changes. That's what I was trying to show as a, you look at all these pages and nobody really total it all together,
The
so.
152, 982 is a contingency, right?
Yeah,
That's revenues and
That's-
expenditures.
Yeah.
So,
It's concise.
just wanted to.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike, for your help.
Councilman Scott?
Yeah, I personally would like to go through the budget item by item line like we did last year. Not one, we can skip some of them, of course, this was there, there's several that I noticed some inconsistencies, I have questions about, I don't understand, and so forth and so forth.
If that's the pleasure of the council, you okay with that?
There's one here.
Well, that's what we're here. I noticed at first that we were, the budget that I have in my file that I spent hours on, that I got, that's like we talked before, giving us new work at the meeting is a little frustrating.
Well, it's really the same budget.
So it's just that one number that changed?
Yeah, the revenue
Okay.
page, but all everything is the same.
Before we go on, about item by item, I have a question. Is that okay?
Yeah, of course.
No, you wanna, we have to make a plan, kinda like, if we go item by item and then
Well,
change the base, change the base
The
budget.
reason why I'm going through it is first of all, is I think if we understand everything.
I
or-
think we should go at line by line, I'm not questioning
No,
that,
I-
I'm questioning just, do we wanna, hear these folks out first? And then,
Yeah, but I don't have to
kinda
wait.
go through the line by line and then see what they have to say and see what the wish list totals, and then, go through that. Just so
It's
they
up to-
don't,
it's either
so they
or.
don't have to sit through
Yeah, I get
us
that.
going for 2 hours.
This, my
looking
reason
through
was to do with this is where we
line by
can
line.
save money, so we can give them
I
more
agree
money.
with you 100%.
But I think it would be nice if they
Yeah,
could sit through it all.
then they can just kinda go through it and.
Okay. I guess should we go to the items?
It's our discussion. We discuss it very well.
Chief, I have a question for you. The new officer. Would you please explain to us as a council why you require one and what justifies it? And just, you have more things, all the things. I'm just curious. I don't know all the answers.
The Laguna Vista Police Department is requesting an additional officer to be hired this 2019-2000 budget year. As you're aware, the town of Laguna Vista is rapidly growing and expanding, resulting in the need for increased police presence, response, and protection. The police department are first responders to all situations in the town of Laguna Vista, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The police department does animal control, code enforcement, medical calls. All police officers are certified first responders. This is in addition to their everyday police functions: patrol, investigation, report writing, evidence storage, traffic control, traffic accidents, complaints, warrants, emergency protective orders, case preparation for the district attorney's office, and enforcement. All officers in the Laguna Vista Police want to continue to provide the best service possible to protect and serve the town of Laguna Vista in a professional manner and maintain high standards while keeping the very low crime rate along with property crimes. The Laguna Vista Police Department has been able to do this at all in the support of the city manager, town council, assistant improving the Border Star and Stone Garden grants. If it was not for these grants, officers would be working alone 100% of the time, resulting in no patrol of the community while paperwork is being done. Prisoners are being transported to the Port Isabel Jail, the county jail in Omito. Gonna figure that out, that because of the Border Star grants y'all got approved and the monies for the overtime, the officers work 10 hours a day, and the schedule is very tricky. We try to overlap shifts. You usually start by Wednesday, you have more overlap than late Sundays, Mondays, and Tuesdays. And also with the climate of everything, a couple things recently is the climate on police officers. To be honest with you, I know this is Laguna Vista, but we have just to the island over 1 million people going a year. I know that because I did the research on a grant. So you don't know who we're stopping, we're very good in this community, but at 1, 2, 3 in the morning, this happened recently. One officer was working by himself, had a little struggle, the guy absconded to the brush and called for backup. No one showed up.
One of our officers.
Not one of our officers, he happened to be working alone. That's why, because we can't do it all the time, but it just so happened. He got a call, he was working alone, I was going through the brush and he was working alone. So with this climate of everything that's going on in our nation, it doesn't exempt us from anything, and and I can tell you this from experience. 2 minutes, when you need backup, seems like 5 hours. And one of the crime rate when I first got down here, I kind of figured this out, and then like I said, the grants kind of helped us overcome this. is, I remember when I got here, I was shocked to learn, because I love this community, I used to live there, that they had 49 burglaries of homes. So I was kind of started looking at it, got the grants, kind of turning things over, getting things going there, and that was a very high rate. So I started looking at it. And one of the deals is, getting to the point where the city's growing, but, but we went to, it is. And it takes more officers to cover the city in that amount of time. And to keep the crime rate low, I think we need that. Because if it wasn't for the grants, because a lot of people don't understand, and I did a talk at the mayor's school, and her grandson got me, Chief, how come you're always in the office? I was like, you gotta cut me off, right? And the deal is, hey, it's not done until the paperwork's done. I mean, what y'all don't see is once you arrest someone here, okay, right here, you have to come. There are certain things you got to do by law. There's paperwork. You got to type the report. And if it's a DWI, you got to take them to Cortisol, blood test now because it's non-refusal. You take them for a blood test. Nurse on duty, you got to hold that person. So who and
One officer's out.
so if you have one officer, let's say one officer's doing all that, who's watching the city?
No.
Who's watching the city?
So you feel you're at a lack at the moment, you're stretched as far as you can.
We are stretched as far as we can. As far as we can. And as it goes forward, it's just going to get worse. And the main thing is, like I said, I mean, just to keep the crime rate low, because the UCR, everything's reported to, foreign crime reporting. And I always look it up and compare it, because I watch all the reports and what we don't want to report stuff that's not happening, right? So let's say if someone says, you know what, where do I want to live? I want to live in, well, I don't want to use a local community, but let's say San Antonio or here, right? Let me look at the crime rate for this population. Let me look at the crime rate here, and I want to see where I live. Because all our crime, everything we report goes to the Uniform Crime Reporting. Oh, shoot, they didn't have a burglary in there here. That's where I want to live. Looking at this. I want to live in this other community had 60 burglaries. And like I said, the thing that's helped us do that has been the grants and overlapping patrol. People come in. I've come in at 2 in the morning because gee, the guy had a wreck. He's drunk. Well, who's gonna watch the TV? I'm on my way. This whole minute. I'm on my way. Because you gotta take them there, and then if jail doesn't take them over there, guess where we gotta take them? We gotta drive them to Omito, the Browns line. So if there was one officer having to do all that, he could leave the city for 3 hours unprotected, and if there's another call. And as it is, we're averaging 6 calls per day.
There's times the city of Portisville will deny someone going to jail. Do you have that before, or what? Why?
Sometimes, because the different injuries, you get a person could be injured, and that's another deal. You get a person that goes, hey, I'm injured, or I'm hurt. Well, then guess what you gotta do? Jail's not gonna take them, so you have to go to the emergency room. And a lot of that is jail's not gonna take, because once you accept somebody in your jail, I'll tell a story real quick. When I ran to jail for Lewis County for those 9 months, hey, guy come in on crime, he got open heart bypass surgery. Cost the county $44,000. And just like down here, I think Mr. Bell, we're very careful trying to pick up people with warrants, and there's one individual, y'all didn't pick this guy, y'all didn't run him with the city warrants. I'm like, yeah, but we already did, and when we did that, this individual had TB. So guess what we all had to go do? We had to go get TB shots. So there's a lot of things where the jail, they won't take them in jail. And you gotta have certain paperwork.
What shift is it where you have that one individual only work? Is it the overnight shift?
It's mainly overnight, early morning hours. It all depends on the schedule flips. But we try to change the schedules to keep everything fair, going over, work officers, working come back-to-back shifts. I mean, as it is, we're already doing 10 hours a day, 8 hours regular, 2 hours for the grants, which allows us to overlap. So, and then if one guy, right, or gal, takes off, well, then you're done. Or that one person has court, you're done. You got one officer all the time. And that's why I'm requesting an additional officer. No units this year. Update on that, all the units are under 120,000 miles. I think our highest unit has 111,000, but that's one unit we just got a brand new engine in, probably 20,000 miles ago. And the reason I watch that so carefully is because right now, in the nation, they made it 120,000 miles. If you get a wreck with your fault or the other person's fault, because of the excessive mile, I mean, they say it's, I had vehicles that had a lot more miles than that, but because the court said that's excessive miles for a patrol pursuit unit, they found the states, counties, and cities liable. So that's why I always watch that mileage on it. But we're good. That's the one that deals I'm worried about.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
Who is old Solis? Officer Solis?
That would be Oscar Solis.
Is he new?
He is a new officer.
Okay, I
He is
missed
a
that.
He is a new
Sorry.
officer, yes, ma'am.
Is
He's been here.
He said 4 weeks, and I met him one of them.
Oh,
okay.
He's been here maybe a month.
He walked by and I.
Well, no, he hasn't been here, he's only been here
The other officer.
3.5 weeks.
and
maybe
that took,
almost.
he took somebody else's salary, right? Those already?
Yes, he took Officer Guerrero's spot
See.
on that.
Okay.
Any further questions?
Yeah, do you feel like one additional officer will get you to a point where you can consistently have 2 people on?
Right, I try to figure out probably at least 90% of the time. And that's with the grants.
With the
That's with the grants.
So ideally, you would like 2 people?
Right now, I'd be happy with one.
Yeah, I'm just
With one.
checking, you know, because we have to think of the future too.
I mean, you know, that's gonna come, you know, I don't know, you know, right now I try to justify everything, I write everything out, justification for the police department for each line item, and right now I can justify one officer.
And I think our primary concern is not only keeping the Middle East safe, but keeping you all safe.
Yes, and you know, that's part of it, part of the thing, not that, you know, I think something, you know, that a certain traffic stops are down, you know, the officer, you know, while he's patrolling the city, and I tell officers, I tell them it's more important at night to patrol the city, especially at night, patrol the city, make sure we don't have murders, make sure we don't have thefts, you know, so if the traffic stops are lower, you know, that officer out there stopping for you don't know who you're stopping, at all, and, you know, you could be, you know, and as that goes with the grant, as we do, we hold strong to the grant because this will be, going in here, I think we will be our 3rd year of identifying the most gang members
Wow.
in Cameron and Wilson County. That's how, we can kind of hang our hat to get the money for the grant by. Because of course, we're not gonna get, like you see in the news, but that's one of the criteria that we do, because we're not gonna get the, you know, 200 pounds of whatever come down the street or any of that, but so we, you know, really hang our hats on identifying, you know, Mexican Mafia, Morenos, Mayucos, and we take pictures and we send them there, and that's what we want to track the stops or the warrants or that.
Mr. Carter?
Do you think by hiring this guy, your overtime would be less?
Overtime would be less? Well, probably this year, it would probably be, it's already done. It's already done. They're getting ready to award it, but on the first, the $77,000. So in that scope, that will be done this year. But in that, we increased Border Star is going to be $77,000 on the first. It's going to be released. So, but we increased it, our overtime on Stone Garden from 10 to 21, $870 dollars. So it kind of washes out a little bit. But then the following year, when we write it, since the way you have to write the grant is how many officers you have times this, that's how much the award is. So for the spring, when I write the new grant, I will include the new officer.
Which should help.
Now?
Which should help.
Yes, which should help, which way should, like, we've been steady at $77,000 for the last 2 years. It went up from, I forget, 60, whatever it was. So the last 2 years we were at 77, and they asked me, do you want to go up? I can't really justify it, but so this year when I write the grant, I will include another officer, which I'm sure they will, okay. As long as we there's a lot of criteria to that. I gotta do the teleconference calls, I gotta send in what they call our border incident sheets, where when we identify one of these gang members, we fill everything out, we write everything, when we arrest them, that's report, take pictures of their tats, so they're identified for the, I can't think of what the acronym now, just what it is, the database where they put all gang members. And do the conference calls, and we send those in. I think we sent like 113 this year. So, and we should grade out at an A because we have not missed one teleconference call. Every Thursday, it's in the clock, Mr. Bill sees me. I'm on the phone waiting my turn for a teleconference call. I should report it every Thursday.
Is that why, I was looking at also one of the line items questions I had was the overtime that, for the proposed budget. Last year, the revised was 500, the year-to-date actual is 0, but the proposed budget is 1,500.
1,500 for this year,
For
yes,
each
ma'am.
officer.
Yes, ma'am. And that's because, when I write the grant, the city, I mean, this, you cannot subsidize city overtime for, let's say, you can't.
He has to match the grant amount.
Yeah, it has to match the grant. They can't go do overtime for security usually by the day.
So if we, in order for you to get the grant and match it, we have to increase our budget on overtime. Is that correct?
It's a washout, yes.
Yes, yes.
So that's why we increased it from
Yes,
last year.
because we tell them
Even
that.
though we're 0 year to date, right?
Yes.
That's one of the things.
And let me tell the council, I know some of you were not here before he was hired. The town was receiving 0 grants in the police departments before he came on board. 0.
What is the grants, what do you ever put them towards, just salary base overtime
Salary,
deals?
pay overtime.
Okay.
Unless you get like the Stone Garden grant this past year that we got awarded. I don't know if you've seen the officers are wearing new vests and match their shirts. They're actually, they look like shirts, but they're actually vests. And we got that. That was we already received that. That was $10,800 for the vest. We got a thermal imager for at nighttime. It was $4,000, and I still need to buy life jackets off the grant they gave us. Went to the life jackets, but I can never find them all in one color. You know, they got green, yellow, red, looking for blue. Only 2 blue, you know. So, and that's what this other, and included in that Stone Garden Act, we had 21. That's what I was telling the starter. We had $21,875 in overtime. But this year, we got to include. I got to include that, and that's thanks for y'all because they included that because of the vessel.
He's also applying for additional grants at each.
So in other words, you know, that if we can help, these 2 grants are basically terrorism grants, okay? And it's border security. And if we, you know, so we put, Ricky went out the other day, but they did 2-hour surveillance on Intercoastal. See, they like that. There's actually a place on, because every day on Stone Garden, every day I have to input, the guys do a daily timesheet. They put how many traffic stops, how many miles, how many felony arrests, how many misdemeanor arrests, whatever they did. And but on one of those, there's Marine Patrol, who Ricky like said, because you know you're not going to stop much out there right now, you know. So it's mainly during the spring, you get stuff moving.
Maybe did you do more to ask?
Do we know on the overtime? That's kind of a big one. How much is funded out of local money and how much is funded out of grant money?
Overtime?
Yeah. Do we know that those differences?
Like how much overtime the guys use in the city for?
Okay, yeah, like, we have overtime that you're getting funded for,
Yes, sir.
right? And we have overtime that the city's paying for.
Yes, sir.
Do we know what each of those are?
Yes, sir. But I don't remember the number.
I understand. I didn't expect you to.
I mean, it's
It's actually
I mean-
broken down there.
I know, but I have to do a lot of math.
It's broken down to, because according to our policy, the town policy,
That's not the point. It's not about policy.
I know, but I'm-
It's all it is about funding.
I understand.
Because our general fund has to pay for our overtime for officers, that is the city's responsibility. And then your grants is over and above that, and that's a different set of funding.
Enhances patrol in the town of Laguna Vista.
Yeah, but
To combat,
but you wouldn't send them out for overtime unless you got funded for it.
no,
That's what I'm saying.
We would
You wouldn't
request
be able
2 more
to.
officers.
no.
And so I'm just trying to
Right,
find
Chief,
out
you-
how much our local, how much we're exposed locally versus how much we're exposed by grants. And so it's two different numbers, and so I'm just curious, because it's a $90,000 nut at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like Wanda said, it's our chief, there was nothing,
Yeah.
no grants.
And if we didn't have the grants, you would have to request 2 more officers, maybe 3,
Maybe 30. Yeah.
right?
Possibly, yes.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking too.
I haven't worked those numbers, I'm just working with.
That I
what
was
got.
gonna ask.
Well, I'm
you,
just
like,
guessing.
Do those grants ever like not renewed? I just future thinking.
Well, I mean, I got here in November, had it in December, and
For like the last 3 years.
then I'll be here in November, 5 years. I would have-
That's what those.
And as far, I mean, you never know, I know it's already, I'll tell you this, we just had a legislative session, and it's already funded for the next 2 years.
Oh, okay, cool.
So, it depends on what the legislative session does, and next, it could go away, it could
Yeah.
not, I doubt it.
Good stuff.
You know, I doubt it, but you never know.
Thank you, chief. Thank you for all you and your department do.
Thank you.
Any further questions of chief?
Any other items here that you think that they're okay besides that?
All the other items, is, all okay. I wrote it, I mean, I won't read everything to you, but I'm basically asked what we had last year to be maintained. I think being maintained with, how I did things this year, being maintained, that just, there would be no increases on the, anywhere, except because I can handle the, if I do approve an officer, I can get the, uniforms and things I need from what's already in the budget.
Okay.
Except the one thing that needs to be upped is, I don't know what happened last year, somewhere it got lost, and, Mr. Bill said, oh yeah, and somehow it got lost, there's other supplies, it went down to $200, what other supplies to me is on the line items is like, I think it went down to 200, it was some happened to where it just spit it out, 200. Well, $200 is, I can't, was on there, our portable radios, our batteries are $200.
I noticed
So
that
we have
that's-
3 or 4 batteries out,
Yeah.
that's
So you think that was a
$800.
typo?
Huh?
It's probably a typo, right?
No, it's a battery for the portable radio.
No, I mean a typo.
Oh, a typo, I thought you said iPhone, I'm sorry, my hearing, I'm working with the VA to get hearing aid, so.
No, I noticed
So-
that, and I was-
That's what he said, iPhone.
More than that.
We can make that adjustment. Now, I was gonna say that one of the things he didn't include, he applied for a grant for those video cameras. Remember,
That's right, yeah.
for $61,000, and I know you're waiting to hear from them, right?
Wait,
And also for upgrades to our boat rescue, additional
yes.
equipment for it.
Oh, the other equipment maintenance, that's what you're saying, right? Not other supplies. Right, it's under
Other
other
equipment
equipment
maintenance.
maintenance, okay, those are like batteries, you say.
There's batteries, antennas, some radio goes out in the car, that's what that budget's utilized for.
Anything else from the, police department?
Last question.
I'm sorry?
Last question, we still pay Portis Mall, right, the 10,000?
Yeah. I tried to get the chief, we went to firearms range and we had a shoot off to see who'd win. And I told him, hey, if I
Come
win,
on, help
don't
us out.
charge us, but he was glad he didn't take the bet.
Well, that's.
One last question.
Last question.
The LBSP, that's the grant.
Yes,
Okay.
Water store.
Okay, so the grant, we spent $49,000 in overtime money so far, 10.5 months.
That's what we spent $77,000.
77,000.
Yes, sir. $77,000.
Is that just that one grant for 77,000?
Yes, ma'am.
And is it a reimbursable grant? Or
Yes,
is
sir.
it?
100%.
100% reimbursement.
Okay, so out of the $84,000 in overtime, 77,000 is being reimbursed.
Yes, sir. Overtime, yes.
So local, we're funding $7,550. That'd be the difference.
That'd be the difference of what we utilize now, yes. Because we have not used all the.
I'm not picking on you, it's just, it's an important number. That's all.
How did you get that? Those two.
I know.
There's too many numbers to add up to get to that number.
Well, this number adds up to
That's the-
84.
that's
It shows the breakdown of the officers, and you show.
Yeah, but it adds up to 84.
See it,
For overtime.
you see that right now?
What's the difference?
That's that, 2 pages up to the 200.
Yeah, no, I understand. I'm just trying to cover myself.
Yeah, okay. We're looking at
All right.
So if we're finished with police, well, I don't want to be here till midnight. If we're finished with police, we'll go to fire.
Yes.
In order. Fire truck. Robbie, you're, let's try and keep the ball out. Not rushing, just keeping this on.
I get it now.
Everybody, one more question, one more. Anybody else? Last call.
No, thank you, Chief. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you, chief.
Yes, ma'am.
Express our thanks to their staff. All right, so, fire. We're up to fire. Chief
You
Kirkland.
notice on the request, there's made for, and something that we've been talking about, the need to repair fire hydrants. And there's a list, I believe Bobby and the chief, they prioritize this list. And then, there's a need for fire station repairs. I know Jason was here last meeting, and I know there's a list of improvements. And then there's a quote there for fire truck number 2 repairs that's on this list. And then something Robbie was doing as our fire chief during the Independence Day celebration, he brought this Lifeline arm and showing people how it works. And there's a picture of it in your handout. And actually, he was showing people there, his department during the event, how it works. It's impressive, you know. So these are things that they'd like to see funded. I know at the last meeting, there was a discussion about fire station repairs. There's fire hydrants that need to be repaired. I included a range of 2,000 to 7,000. Once we go in there, and it'd be a minor repair, it'd be a complete replacement. So we need to go in there to the fire hydrant and see what the problem is. So I put a range of 2,000 to 7,000. And the fire truck repair is something like $6,000 as a quote that the chief got, fire truck number 2. I know all of you a few months ago were talking about the importance of making sure that fire truck number 2 was in operation. They have a very good quote to bring it up to standard, and they'd like to move on that. So both of them are here to address any questions you may have with regards to these areas. So.
Yes, I see the fire hydrants in their locations. What are the main issues, if you were to say the main
The main issue?
Rust or
They're just broken.
decay?
They're just broken, or they don't have enough pressure, right on those ones on the nozzle?
So there's one we tested on the beach. When you open it up all the way, it barely pours water out. That could be an issue with the line going to it, or that could be the hydrant itself. Some of the hydrants in town, you go to take the caps off, and they're stuck open. So if you took that cap off, it would just run and run, and you'd have to call the water district to find the valve and turn it off. So those weren't able to be fully tested. And then there were some that you go to turn them on, and nothing happens. So a fire hydrant's a very complex thing. It has pins and all these, everything has to be greased, this and that. Some of the hydrants in town are from 1960. So just imagine the salt water, the ground corrosion that it has. But there's pins within it, so that way there's not damage done to where if you over tighten it, stuff like that, the pin breaks. It could be as simple as one of the pins broke. When you spin the top, it moves the post up and down, and there's a butterfly valve at the bottom that opens and closes. That valve could just be stuck, and they could open it up, clean it up, and it could be good. Or it could be so much wrong with it that it needs a new hydrant. And the hydrant all the way down to the valve that's about 6 foot underground. Yes, ma'am.
Quick question, so if these, like, say, in any one of these, say a fire breaks out at 409 by Banker, is that your house?
I'm big feeling.
So currently, right
Well,
now,
my house is on here too, but for sake of expedience, just curiously, are there other fire hydrants, for everybody's sake, not just my own, that can reach those houses in case a fire breaks out?
we carry about 2,000 foot of hose on the back of the truck, to where we
So-
can make it work if we had to. But for every 50 or 100 foot of hose, you lose pressure. You lose water resistance.
So this is a real issue.
It is a real issue.
If you have fires in any of these homes,
The apartment complex on Hibiscus, their hydrant is in up. It doesn't work.
what's the closest one? How far is
The closest one is on the corner, so you would have to close down Mesquite Road, and you'd have to run it from Mesquite down
How far away
down
is
the
it?
road. Probably about quarter of a mile.
They're 15 hydrants out of service, 15. And we came up with a list
Which one is that?
of hydrants that would be prioritized to be fixed, which would be, was at the fire station so they can fill up the truck.
The one at the fire station also goes there to David Cuervo.
David Cuervo.
That entire road's out. So if we had to get water to it, we'd have to close down 510 and run from across that road.
And then the apartments over here, apartments at Hibiscus and the beach, because, that truck's gonna have to, something happens down there, the truck's gonna have to go down, it just can't turn around. There's no water, that fire hydrant's out down there. So we prioritize, and then Beach Drive over here, and, those are prioritized, I think, try to get fixed first. There's actually 15 now.
How long, okay, I'm upset, because a year ago, Councilman Carter asked about these hydrants, and we were told that they were good. Now we have 15 that don't work. How long have they done it? We all know.
Mr. Jones? That's,
Y'all have no idea.
well, I mean,
Well, I know it's not your fault.
Oh, okay, I'm just saying.
I'm just saying y'all don't.
I mean, we know this now, they all have been tested,
And that's
and we know these, and these are the prioritized ones that probably need to get fixed.
I have my volunteers go out on that on the drill. We test every fire.
Every fire hydrant's checked.
So these are all the ones that need to be. And
You're
you're,
only
you're,
13, you say 15.
So,
I have 15 of those also.
and you're estimating between $2,000 and $7,000 for each, or as?
Well, the city engineer gave me a quote on some work he had done, some small projects that involved replacement of fire hydrants. He said, you're looking at $6,000-7,000. Obviously,
Completely replacing.
correct. But
just-
if we're to go for quotes from all these, let's say 5 or 8 of these, you're gonna get a better price because this contractor is gonna work on several one time. So it may be repairing or replacing. But one of the things I asked Robbie several weeks ago, and, is go and test, give us, the both chiefs, go and give us a list, get an inventory of what's out there, and then they came back with this, and
Yeah, worst case scenario, it's about 100,000, 91,000, and 7,000 a pop.
Priority.
and hopefully it'll be
And base
cheaper
case
as some
scenario
are
is
repairs.
2025.
I'm
She
just saying
said it could
7,000
end up
for
being a pen.
Yeah,
Could be a
It's
benefit.
not like,
And there's experts, there are people, contractors that work specifically on fire hydrants.
And this is a major issue.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This is a
Especially the one
major
by the
sector.
fire.
You have to be certified to work in hydrants.
Yeah.
So I do not have the knowledge to work on them.
We
I don't want to
Do you
open
have
one up,
somebody?
and it ended up costing us $10,000 because I break a line, rather than having a professional come out, turn the water off and do it. My guys at the station aren't trained to do it.
If we were to go out for bids, we would obviously get those fire hydrant contractors. There are several in the area. That's what they do.
We've had them before.
We've had them here before.
Mike?
Okay, what was the cost the last time we did this?
$4,000 or $5,000
A piece?
Yeah,
When was that?
about 3 years ago.
No.
Longer.
A lot longer than that.
It was longer.
Well,
Like 5 years.
The one that's right by my house was
5 or 6
fixed
years
about
ago.
2 or 3 years ago. The one on my yard on the corner, was about 3 years ago.
And also keep in mind that while we may replace or upgrade the fire hydrant, I know one of these chiefs alluded to it, if the line is inadequate, the main line is a 4-inch line,
Well, that's kind of what
Well,
happened.
that's the water district problem, right? Or is it that out of?
it's, well, it becomes, again, we share the liability, the concern.
But I mean, they'll pay to fix it, or do we have to pay to fix it?
No, well, one of the things that we've been asking the water district, and because they upgraded the water line that ran through Beach Boulevard, that services people, I believe, on the bayside, and there's a water line that goes through the alley that services these people on this side across the street from Beach. They've tried to secure money to upgrade that line, which I believe is 4-inch, and then I was told it was gonna cost like $1 million to upgrade the whole line. So there may be situations where the water main line needs to be upgraded.
Because that won't fix the.
That will not fix the
Fire hydrant.
That's
pressure.
another issue.
Correct.
Then I have a question about the fire truck. So we've been talking about this for quite a while. You guys went out to get somewhere from Houston or something? You were trying, Mission, you were trying to get
Brush truck?
no, you were trying to get somebody to pay for it. You were applying for some, I remember something like that you were trying to get somebody to help pay for it. There was some grant that you could apply for something.
We have a grant in that we've been in for, I think, 8 or 9 years, but we just aren't high enough on the list. There's other communities that are high on the
That's
list.
what it was.
So that
We're
might
not
have been
high
what
enough
it
on the
is,
list.
because y'all funded engine 1 repair,
But engine
which was
two
the smaller amount, that was more important. And engine 2, y'all gave Chief Scott, when he was here, the permission to try to sell it. We had it listed for $60,000, no takers. The truck only has 10,000 miles on it. It's worth well more than that. And if we were to sell it and could buy another used truck, we're buying someone else's property. We know what's wrong with our truck. This truck's good for another 10
So it's
years.
a good, it's an easy
And
fix.
thanks, Robbie, I think the first bid last time we bought this to y'all was right at $19,000 to fix that truck. New company there in Mission, Robbie found them. They said just without fixing everything on the outside, $6,000 and some change, $6,000 something to fix engine 1. But again, like before, Mr. Carter talked about, we don't know what's gonna happen when they open it out. So we're basically asking for a bit more money, like we did the other truck, and he was right, it did cost a little bit more once they opened it up. And so you figure, let's say $8,000, this company comes over, gets it done, and we're back online with 2 trucks that are perfect.
My humble opinion at this point is for the arm. How urgent is the arm? Because it's-
To me, the arm's on
Personally, I think
the arm's on the
there's
bottom of
some-
the list for this. The arm has a lifeline, has a lifespan of 5 to 7 years.
So we can maybe move that to next year. Not that we want to, but in light of what we learned.
Yes, ma'am. I think the hydrants and the fire truck repair
Yeah.
are top of the list.
Okay.
Something with getting those fixed as well that'll benefit the citizens with the fire hydrants is ISO ratings. We're supposed to have a fire hydrant within so many feet of the house. And if you come in the station on the wall on the left, we actually have a map with circles around them. And without these, you'll have gaps there. And our ISO rating could go down, and that's property taxes increase.
And also
Insurance.
insurance.
Yeah, the ISO is insurance ratings.
Let's fix this.
So we're, yes, ma'am.
There were 2 fire station repairs. How much are those?
That's what Jason's talking about, 15,000.
All of it?
They're trying to get us to match. So they're gonna do the golf course, hosting the golf tournament. And they're gonna,
15,000.
and they're gonna raise whatever funds they're raising, they're asking us too much.
Like the windows and all that stuff, right? Well, we're getting the CDC, correct?
7,000 or?
Are we gonna ask again?
The 7,000 from the CDC for those fire
Yeah,
stations?
that's still part of what's going on. I think, they're gonna replace the,
They're replacing,
siding.
all the rotten wood on the building in the next week. So then after that, we'll have to come up with paint. They have the windows on order. They have to be specially made because it's a concrete brick building, so they have to fit perfectly, and they're gonna be hurricane windows, so we won't have to board them up during hurricane.
That's
And
the
they have a list of other
7,000.
stuff.
That's the same, what was, how much was it? 7,000 that we gave you, right?
Yes, ma'am.
The
From the
CDC.
CDC funds.
Can we still pull from there or no?
Well, they're trying to they're trying to use, trying to get more from the 7,000. In other words, they're trying to get, I know
As
the
much
golf
as they
club,
can.
We spread that out.
just spread it out to get more back.
Right, so they need $15,000 more to finish the building.
The size is 7.
And less than what they're gonna raise from the dollars.
I just wanna say, you gave us some alarming information concerning the fire hydrants, but I really appreciate your expertise to making us realize what's going on. Thank you.
Any further questions of Chief Inspector? Thank you, Chiefs.
And by the way, real quickly, I know Robbie mentioned the fire hydrant there at the fire station. Well, Alma and I just reviewed the preliminary plans for the beauty salon, which will be across the street. And we reviewed the preliminary plans for the dental clinic, which is gonna be across this catty corner from the fire station. So that fire hydrant is gonna be obviously very important.
Yeah, and also on that part, I don't know, you did put it on, I don't know if it's on your list, I put it on the list as one of the priority ones, on that list. Because, so when they go out on a call, they can fill up the fire truck, and quick story real quick. I was sure, I call it a house fire, and the fire department shows up, and they get their hose out, and they just dribble. And it's because they didn't have a fire hydrant at the fire station, one reason, that they filled up some of the swimming pool, and they forgot to fill it up, or they go find one, so someone's house burned down. So it's just one of those deals, every time you go out, you go there, you're at the fire station, you fill up.
One of the biggest things is, if we use a hydrant that's in front of somebody's house, we tear up the yard if we fill up the trucks. You know, because you had to flush them, so it floods the fire beds, it floods all that. We really need our own fire hydrants, we're not running people's yards, we're not running in people's yards, stuff like that. And like I said, it covers a David Corner up there as well.
So that's gonna be a bummer of this, right? Anybody else for Chief? Chief, I just wanna tell you how much I enjoyed the, license to carry.
Yes, ma'am.
You had many people did you have there, 35?
35 people, biggest turnout.
Most of them were $80 a whack, but there were some that were higher.
Yes, ma'am. So if you're military, it was $20 off. If you're a firefighter, it was, I think, $30 off.
I think I was the only one that failed the shooting part.
I didn't say that at
I
all.
did on the second time, so that's all that matters. But it was very interesting. I learned a whole lot. So Raul was very good. Yes, this is fun. We had church there at the shooting range Sunday morning, so there were 8 of us from church out there. I don't know if fun's the right word.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. It's a good fundraiser. Okay, library. Huda?
This is something Buddha has been bringing to my attention, the need to repaint the building. And I know we talked to Christina Salazar, we talked about painting art on one side of the building, but you know, the need to repaint the building, and there's some roof repairs. We included some conservative numbers, but there's some repairs that need to be done to the roof. And you know, I asked Buddha also to be here to address any questions you might have with regards to the repainting and regards to the roof repair problems that we had. They're minor, but we're afraid they may get worse.
Are there any leaks? Are there any leaks in the roof?
Yes.
After leaks.
They come in through a window on the side, and it does really need a repair. I don't know repair for the whole roof. There's a leak coming in through the side window in the middle every time it rains. So it's not.
That's on the side.
That's almost all those windows, right?
No, it's in the parking lot size.
Oh.
So it's, and they did take pictures of them last time, so it's bad. It really, I don't know if a repair might do it, or we might need a.
Susan,
Yes.
I remember when we were talking about the painting of the fire station, and didn't we also throw the painting for the library about 2.5 years ago?
Last year or 2 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And I think we weren't,
We never put it in for CDC.
well, we got some resistance. I felt, some board members felt that, well, that's a city function and
From the CDC?
That was a different
That
board,
one
so I
time
think
when
we
I-
should-
Yeah, I think the board right now
Let's
is
do it
like,
again.
Yes.
I think.
Besides painting, it has some cracks inside too.
On the inside walls.
Yes. So it's in there.
Have you asked the Friends of the Library to assist with this at all?
I have, but at the time we didn't have the funds.
Do you know how much is in their account now?
About 3,000.
3,000?
Yes.
Do you know how much is in the money market account? No. Did you get me that number? Sure.
It's about 3,600.
3,600?
what is that?
And 3,000 for the Friends.
No questions for Kura? Good to go?
Thanks. Thank y'all.
Really?
Last but not least,
The parks are looking great.
he's asking for a truck, and he actually has information on the maintenance costs of one of the trucks that he uses that he wants to share with you. So I asked him to be here.
Well, I got back, I was out and I got back on May this year. What happened is that we were down one truck since then. This is the 85 green truck we have back there.
The green truck?
Green truck. And we have one vehicle down, and at the time I was using the golf cart. So when it was raining and at the time it didn't have bad weather, I was using the golf cart. Thanks for the chief that we let me borrow the black truck. We have. On this green truck, ever since we got it back in 2016 to right now, we already invested about, the town has invested about $10,857 on it. It's always been the transmission. If it's not the transmission, it's the batteries. If it's not the batteries, it's, a little bit of everything. We've done, it seems like every year, there's they work on the transmission different, Antulu, Vasquez, and Mr. Flores, and it seems like nobody can get it straight. It's just a money pit there on
Is
this
that
truck.
that little green one?
This is the green one, the old
It's
green
not
one.
even worth 10,000.
Daily use truck.
Yeah,
It's
because
not
it
even
was
worth
the-
10,000 and we've already spent
It's a
10,000.
classic.
We have this, when I started here, we had this, brand new truck, was a 2015, the Ford we had, that was mine. And ever since 2015 to date, we need materials and oil change and everything else, new tires. Since then, we only put $1,287. I think the difference between this one and this one, on this one, it was just a waste of money.
That's really good. Good job.
I think the chief that is using their black truck, that's what we're using right now. And the reason we're using this because every time I need to go report to Orange and get, whatever I needed, I have to get on my golf cart, take my truck away from them, and then, have to go do whatever, and have to come back. And it was just hard on everybody.
I just really didn't want to drive the classic truck to
Me
Harlem.
too.
Can we run the logo?
Our green truck, well, it doesn't have it doesn't have base, it doesn't have nothing. So,
I was joking. I wouldn't want to drive across the street.
Only can I say I'm impressed with
You know
your
what? The
bookkeeping.
golf cart.
Yeah, the
Oh,
green
really?
truck.
Oh,
But that's where we stand right
Thank
now.
you, Willie, we'll try our best.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Any more questions from Willie? Nobody want to bother them?
Buy some hot dog.
They want the green truck.
Mike's,
You want the green truck?
Mike's always wanted.
I want the green truck. I love that
You
thing.
want the beast?
It's
He's always saying he wanted
Yes. When it works.
Any
5%
guesstimates,
time.
any like estimates for a new car?
I put 19,000, but it
Oh, yeah,
varies. I mean, I know the chief got a quote from a state agency for 24, was it?
24.
So the
But,
chief included additional.
I asked them to see if we get one a little bit more basic.
I think we should ask on Facebook if anybody wants to donate a car.
That's what happened the last time, that's why we have the green beast.
There we go. I'm serious.
That donation costs.
That donations cost us $10,000.
Well,
Any further questions of Willie, then let's go, we did not do administration. Let's go back to number one, administration.
One of the things that I put a cost estimate of 5,000 to renovate the front desk counter. And so we wanted to make some changes there, make it more friendlier. And so,
What did you say?
More welcoming.
so
More
that's something
room,
we'd like to see.
more room, because it gets terribly crowded up there.
It's odd.
Like one person at a time.
Do you have any questions?
Well, it's something like $2,000, but that's something we're working on.
What's the 5,000 for? Is it just to expand or?
Yeah. Lower that wall and change it, put a door and
Put the door where? Where the door's at?
there's a, the entrance, make it more space here.
Honestly, that sounds fabulous, but after hearing all this, it's like at the bottom of my list, unfortunately. Right?
I'm still stuck with fire hydrant.
Yeah. I know.
That's a scary one.
Any more questions, Mike?
Can I see the increases again?
On the budget?
Yeah.
I just don't know.
What are your increases?
Property taxes
This
is
one?
166,000.
No, your increases for payroll.
Oh,
So while he's doing his math, Rolando, just the increases, I did the math quickly, for our property taxes is 166,000.
correct. And that's attributed to that increase in taxable value of 5%.
So if we take all that money, we can fulfill everybody's wish list.
Well, one of,
Except the salary increases.
now, one of the things
But it flows.
and I'm to
Except the
To
salary.
not to confuse you, but on the binder, I talked about how much cash in bank and how much money in investments and how, as of those dates, when I printed those out, but also how much had been used previously. One of the things I was telling our Councilman Revelos when he was here earlier, myself, that, and this is something Mike will, knows a great deal about, one-time expenses, capital outlays. You wanna, there's a chance you wanna use some reserves for those things. And obviously, like, these things obviously are part of the budget, become part of the budget increases as a result of salary increases. But the officer becomes part of the operating budget. But one-time expenditures, use some of the money in reserves. General rule is that you wanna have 3 months of operations. We have about, like, 6-7 months,
5.5.
5.5 months. And keep in mind, cash in bank fluctuates. At the beginning of the fiscal year, when people are paying their taxes, we have a lot of cash in bank. By the end of the fiscal year, by August, September, you start seeing the number less. So,
When does the annexation take effect?
well, one of the things,
The annexation, when does it take effect?
well, I just sent an email to our attorney earlier saying I want to see that annexation before January the 1st. And so we're trying to move on that and to get that property into the tax roll and start making improvements over there on those areas that you discussed, that you wanted to see.
Marge is here from the youth center to keep her any longer. That way they can continue discussing. I hadn't forgotten about you.
That,
I had. Thank you.
it's all right.
But, okay, sure.
Is you all right with
Mayor, I'm gonna repeat myself.
Okay, just sit there and just, shoot first.
Okay. I actually got asked to come here early this morning, so I'm not very prepared for this either, but, I'm speaking on behalf of the Laguna Madre Youth Center, which I know is probably in your contingency funds. But, we've been working really hard, and I'm the grant writer there. We worked hard to get back on our feet, get up and running. We have a lot of program grants, but we're still struggling with operations funding. And we applied to a grant. Some of you may know this gentleman, Andy Faskin. He, I believe, owns the South Padre Marina that's down on Port Road, or off of Port Road.
So,
He maybe, I don't know, but he came to us and originally, and he said that he had a grant foundation called Graham Foundation, and that they would like to help the youth center, and they have been helping us. They provided funds for us on last year, just 1 year. We've had one full year with them. We just reapplied and asked for a little more money, and they came back at us and said they would give us $30,000 if we could get the cities that we serve to help us out as well. So we're asking all 3 cities to help us, and we're hoping that you'll consider us for $10,000 this year, and we're going to be asking South Padre Island for the same amount. And of course, Port Isabel, you heard at the last meeting, you heard what Port Isabel does, and they do a lot for us. So most of theirs is in kind, but they fund quite a bit. So I'm hoping that you'll consider us. We can't get the $30,000 if you folks don't help us out with the additional funds. So that's another issue. And we work hard to get these grants. We don't want to lose them. So if you can help us, we'd appreciate it. Do you have any questions for me?
Was Andy's grant a 1-for-1, or he just wants the cities to help out and he'll kick in?
They're going to give us 30 if you folks give us 10,000.
What if we give you 5,000? They'll only
If you give us
25?
5, I imagine that they'll go along with that. But, you know, all I can do is ask
You're not
them.
sure if it's a 1-for-1 matching?
It
or
isn't a
not?
1-for-1. If it was 1-for-1, we'd be asking for $30,000.
Oh, okay, so he's gonna give you 30 if we get 10,000, if you get 10,000 from all 3 surrounding communities?
If I can get 10 from combined, yeah, each one of you here, that would be the match. That'd be the 30.
Well, there are 2 things here.
But you'd be 1/3 of it.
So he's gonna give you 90,000.
Pardon? No, 30. He's giving us 30 and asking us to get 30 from the other cities, from the cities we serve. Because he feels like the communities should be invested in the youth center too. That it shouldn't just be outside agencies funding us. That we're serving you, we're providing a service. Some people look at us as a charity, but we're not a charity. We're a service. We make it possible for your people that live in the city that have children to go to work and not worry about them after school. And for you to go to work and not worry about who's in your garage rifling through your stuff at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We keep these kids busy, but we also help raise good citizens. We work with them in their school work. We work with them. We've actually got a grant with United Way right now to help the schools increase their scores in the STARS score testing. We're working with the kids on reading and math right now to help bring the school scores up. So we're a community organization helping the community, and we need the community's help back. And that's pretty much it.
I have a question. When the youth center lost its funding from the Boys and Girls Club. Okay, at that point in time, okay, everything happened, now we're on the upcoming now, right?
Right.
So is there any way that, or would Boys and Girls Club be able to never, so it's gone
No,
forever?
that's a done deal.
Done deal,
We
okay.
will never be part of the Boys and Girls Club of America. And it's a
Shame.
good thing, actually.
Oh, okay.
It's a good thing. They were killing us financially. And,
Well, let me ask the school
Yeah.
district. I know when I was a time when I went in toward the Donna Boys and Girls Club, and the school district was bringing the kids with their buses to the Boys and Girls Club, and the kids were walking in, giving them their chips, sandwiches, and soda, and they were studying, but the school district was subsidizing the Boys and Girls Club because it was an extension of the school.
yeah.
They were benefiting from that, so does the
Well-
school district?
Have you approached them?
Just to.
What I was going to say about this is that at the time that we were separating from the Boys and Girls Club, the school district lost their funding for their after-school programs. So because of that, we've not approached them, but they do help us out with things like in the summertime, they provide breakfasts and lunches for the children all summer long.
But that's
And-
federal money,
Yes.
and that's all over everything.
It behooves them.
So,
They benefit
but
from
we
it.
need to, and we
So-
have a new superintendent,
Yeah.
and we plan on approaching her.
Good one.
We haven't been there yet, but we're letting her get settled in for the school year. And then we will be going to talk with
But I think
her.
that's a very good idea.
And
You see what we're dealing with.
Oh,
I'm glad you were here, so you can
yes.
see that we're not just
Oh.
like thanking you lightly, you know.
I understand, because I do this with the city of Port Isabel too, because I'm on their
The
payroll.
school district is
So-
also an entity that needs to be asked, not only the three
Yes.
towns, but the school, so there really should be four of us.
And that's a good idea, and we will do
And
that.
and give it to them with that, you all are the fourth entity.
Right. And we will. We will definitely approach.
And the largest collector, thank you, Mike, and the largest collector of
Which they,
tax dollars,
which they say goes all back
which
to
goes.
wherever.
52%.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you,
So-
Mark. We'll do our best.
Thank you all.
Do our best.
We'll do
I
our best.
appreciate that, that's all I can ask for. Thank you.
Thank
Good night, all.
Thank you for coming, Margie.
She is,
And thank you for hearing me out.
Thanks so much.
Good luck, gang.
Katie.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. Personally prioritized from the get-go what I think was most important. Because I feel like, what's the sense if we have a new garden truck where our houses are burning down, you know? So I think it's important to prioritize. And so for me personally, the fire and police station requests are absolutely perfect. Then, so that, the math there is 102,000. That includes, I budgeted $25,000 for fire hydrants. That's a very optimistic number.
How
I
much?
know. 25. That's hoping that one of two or three of them might just be open. 56 for a new officer. I also included 15K for the firehouse because that thing is truly falling apart. But maybe we can get that from the CPC. Anywho, so that's 102,510. I've tweaked, I've gone through, that's why I wanted to go through the line items. We don't have to go through all each, but there's several there that I thought doesn't make sense, that I tweaked and listened, that on my own little opinion, created another $21,500.
You want to share those with us?
Sure. Well, we increased 166,000.
What line item are you
Yeah,
on?
no, that's the first thing, our revenue was on property tax, property
Okay,
taxes.
but before on the revenue side, we increased to 166, but we're currently $149,000 below our budget amount this year.
So is that added?
Wow.
So I think that's an important number to try to figure out. Why are we $149,000 less in the current year? The big number there is this number right here. We're $46,000 less on court costs.
Oh, all those things, yes.
to state.
I figure all the court funds, I was gonna ask you the court fines, the bonds, just because of our.
So how
And the
how
way we
much of that
manage things,
money
right?
are we gonna recoup in the next month and a half? Or the next month now?
No, we're not gonna, I mean, we're not gonna make the original budget on court fines.
But you revised the budget, so we're not at a loss for last year's budget, or this, still this running year budget, right? Correct?
We will be at a loss if we continue the way we're going right now, in my opinion, we'll be at we'll lose $154,000.
Okay, but if you, the big numbers are the court costs, right? And we feel we can maybe fix that again by, we're up for a new judge election, correct?
And we're doing some things, Scofflaw is a program that the county has, and, you know, we're working with the county right now, because what happens with some defendants that have failure to appears or warrants, they'll say, well, I don't have to deal with the city until I renew my license. Was this county program they have, when you go renew an annual vehicle registration, which is an annual thing, when you go to the county and if it's gonna show you have something with a levy step, so you have to come over here and clear that. So you owe us
So
money.
you're saying that's gonna create income?
Absolutely,
Okay.
and I,
That's
you know.
just, that's hoping, right? We can only work with numbers that we have right now.
Correct, but we're trying to tighten those gaps. And so.
Okay, but this,
If we look at just the court by itself, we're $88,497 less.
yeah. But again, you did pull that out of other spots in the budget, right? To make up for
Well, we're gonna have that.
this. Yeah, you did, because you.
We're gonna see that reduction in revenue in that area.
Yeah. Okay, can we go, some of the things that I thought personally. I've had a question on the city administration. So.
Okay.
Oh, it's 500.
Which line item?
50020.
Okay, what page?
Page 2. I'm going on the one that was on my folder, sorry. I can maybe pull up. So yeah, that's page 2, that's right. So we have the city secretary salary, and we have your salary and then the assistant salary. So there's one missing, what about,
That's in the court, municipal court.
so that's what I call, that's her salary.
Yeah.
Okay, so when Ms. Alma retires, or, sorry, resigned, excuse me for that. So this will be the new position salary that you're budgeting for, right?
I'm still working through all those things, and obviously, you know, I'm working right now with the same staffing level we have right now for the new budget. Those changes I will bring up, we're probably a month into the fiscal year, so.
Okay, because we're trying to approve this budget.
That's what I try to be, is.
Well, but I mean, we're gonna have a city secretary, so that is
Actually,
gonna
we
be,
have
that's gonna be a salary position, right? So that will change those, I was just gonna ask about that, I was just curious. But I'm sure, I understand that that'll be changing as.
And I'll be making some changes in some of those areas.
Okay, line item 6125, special events.
On
Page
expenditures,
3.
Are you still on salary increases?
No, I'm not, I'm just going through some.
Page 3.
I'm on page
okay,
3.
so what I did there,
So you just added the 10,000 for the firework show?
what I've done is, what we did at the amended budget, and I think something Mike talked about during the amendment budget process, is create a line item,
For special
for
events.
events. So
Okay.
we're gonna use that for events.
So, but that's not for the fireworks show, for specifically, that's for any of them, because the
Yeah,
fireworks show
absolutely.
pays for itself, according
Correct.
to the budget.
Correct.
Okay, just curious about that.
Yeah.
So you put 8,000 there, okay,
So it's, you see it on the revenues and you see it on the expenditures.
okay. Then page 4, travel budget of $10,500. I personally feel, we've talked about this before, I personally feel that I think it's important that, I know you do important work in Austin, but I personally feel like we can, especially with all the needs we have, we can lessen that significantly.
There's not a session this coming year, so.
Yes, so I don't think you're gonna be traveling to Austin, so I think we can even make that $5,000. Year to date, you've only spent 7, but,
Where are you at, what are you doing?
6360, page 4. So I personally think instead of 10,500, that would be 5,000.
Is that just for your training, or is that when we go to TMF?
That's in this
It's,
TMF.
it's for all of us when we have to travel.
But year to date, it's so far it's 7,400. Mr. Rella's gone to Austin's several times. He's saying he's not gonna go as many times this year.
Remember, but some of those trips have been subsidized by the gift that Mr. Harding gave, that they were related to the 8 acres, some of those trips were paid for with that donation. So,
I still personally feel like that should be, that's a big trouble budget.
I thought Mr. Harmon's monies were supposed to be used for the marina improvements.
no,
And he
what he
didn't
said,
even acquire.
donating this money to help the city acquire those 8 acres. And whatever balance is left, we'll turn it over for the marina improvements. That's what he wants.
It was initially to help us try to acquire that 8 acres. That's a pet project of the board.
And that's why I have to go on, because you have to try to put a rider on them also. Anyways, that's just my opinion.
While we're on the same page,
Yeah, page 4.
while we're on the same page, you go over a couple of the 6340, the building insurance.
Yes, I had a question there too. Is that gonna stay the same?
Do we have a new quote on insurance for this year?
No.
No.
Why did it go up to? Yeah, but I mean, they give you a quote. They give you an annual quote and then you.
Is that the one that I lowered?
Yeah,
Yes.
no, you didn't lower it,
You
you
can't
kept it
get
the
a
same,
full
but
one.
you spent 23,000 already.
No, but the initial budget was 40,000, right, Alma? Is that the one where, that there were,
Right, but we have one policy that comes due September 29th, which we just paid, which is what threw us over.
Okay,
And then it always
and how
comes
much
to
was that
such a-
one?
I think it was 3,400, right around 3,400.
Okay, so
3,000.
we didn't budget for that one, basically. I'm saying that's a big number.
So you think that should be 23?
I think it should be 25.
Oh, well, there we go with the travel budget.
For sure,
There goes my
25,000.
bump on the travel budget.
actually, that account was something like 40,000. And I
So
went in
insurance
there.
is going up right now, everything's going up.
No, but they were charging, they were giving us a value of so much for the trail and the windstorm and all.
So
So
make that
there's
the
overlapping
25?
insurance policies.
I think it should be 25.
Okay, let's go back to the travel budget. What's sold, Mr. Northman? Am I being too liberal with it? Am I being too conservative? Should we?
Well, this is not the only money in travel budget
Exactly,
either.
it's many travel budgets.
CDC.
There's CDC money, is there another travel budget besides
Yes,
this?
there, if you look through, there's several travel budgets.
Well, but those are different departments.
Right, and this
Yeah,
travel,
But who
you know,
uses them?
You move money around.
But who uses
So
them?
like the pool money here and there.
But not from one department to another, unless it's a budget money. Like if chief
Like what we
has
do.
travel, that's
Yeah.
for their courses to attend.
Yeah, but I'll get there and I'll show you, but I see what you're saying.
so the travel for the 10,000 is for all of us, or is it just?
It's the council and the city manager.
Well, we only use it when we go to TML, the few of us that do go, and the rest of the time it's always Lorena that travels to,
But there's been
Which is
times,
every year.
there's been times when we've had legislative updates, and there's been times when I've met with the governor.
yeah.
And there's, so there are
Yeah,
special.
no, I know.
I don't plan on that happening this year, because there's not.
I understand that, no, I understand you guys have to travel, I just feel like that's a big travel budget, that's, gosh, that's like, big trip to Africa and back from Alabama. It's a lot of money, I feel like, you know, a car trip to Austin is flight, that will, just reasonable to fly for $120. Night and hotel, 2 nights at $80, that's not the ice saving, you know, I don't see why it has to be $10,000 back. Thoughts?
We can lower it, and then if we need to make an amendment, then
I'm just trying to find places where we can
pull from.
pay for our many needs.
Yeah.
There's another place on that same street needs to go up too. That's water services, water rates have increased, they're gonna increase again,
Which one is this?
okay?
Water services.
60270,
What do you guys
so
suggest that would be?
you're gonna, that's gonna have to be, I would say $47,000 to $5,000.
47? Which is it?
I would say 5,000 because those increases, you know, took place in the middle of the year, not gonna be the entire year, and they're gonna go up again next year,
Okay,
so.
let's,
That's
okay,
it,
then
that's-
let's settle for 7,000 on travel budget. Ryan?
Settle.
I would say 7.
Okay, then, training and education. 1,500 year to date is only 837. Can we make that 1,000? Ms. Orlando?
Sure, I mean,
Are they additional training that you plan on going to, or?
what was that training for, Alma?
The PFIA? This year.
Yeah, that's the one for the investments, it's mandatory.
And what is the cost? The actual cost is to pay for the actual course, or is that travel for?
Yeah, no, the training provisions for the registration of the course, which probably runs about $300 or $400.
You will get written up on the audit if you don't have that.
It's a torturous
Have that.
training.
So,
That's
can we
when
drop
you're
that?
talking about hundreds of millions of dollars in investment, you're like,
Can we drop that to 1,000? Would that cover your trip and all the payments for that? It's only 300, right, Alma, you said?
For that one, yes.
So 1,000 there, training and education.
And I haven't increased again.
See, Mike, we're just all
service.
sitting.
Exactly, I'm just waiting for you to drop it, so I can
Awesome.
increase it. The legal services, okay, we're over budget, we're not even through the end of the year yet.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
Have we ever seen that dropping?
Only in the next season, and next year the cost.
I don't see it dropping.
It's not going to.
Well, we're in mediation. And we're up. I'm just being optimistic.
Mediation
well,
is-
trial is gonna be in
the
June.
cost.
Yeah,
The trial with
we have
Bronzo.
another 10
We're
months.
gonna go through depositions in the next few weeks.
Okay, what's the suggested number there then? 40?
I would say $40,000.
Here's a kid at her.
You take away, you give and he takes away.
And then there's advertisements below that.
What is advertisements? Why are we open?
A lot of those are mandatory.
You have to be on
16, 14.
Oh, yeah, to put in the CDC.
Those are mandatory, I think. So, I think that needs to go up to 6,000.
What's the
You reckon
For me
it's down?
personally, I'm gonna jump a few pages.
legal 40?
To page 11. So, for the fire department, the salary for the chief. So right now, we're just doing the chief is just a non-temporary salary, right?
It's part-time.
Thank you, that's the word. Okay. So that's gonna stay the same. Then, why did the amount drop for volunteer firefighters from 12,120 to only
Chief,
7,000?
Robbie, Chief,
So,
volunteer compensation.
Last year for the firefighters, the compensation came out of nowhere at 12,000 because of how the fire station was being run by the chief at the time. He was having people stay at the station. He'd have 5 people go to one call.
Oh, so you're being more
Now we've
effective.
we've reduced that. The max out of call that gets paid is 3 firefighters for EMS calls, and if there's actual fire, it'll go up from there. But we have a lot less people going on calls. We're still making the calls. And some of the chief knows a little more about it because he was doing the paperwork at the time.
So you're just going more
That's how it
efficient.
is. We're being more efficient, yes,
Well,
ma'am.
thank you.
Being more efficient, and we're putting out every month exactly what, I think we're at 4,000.
We're right at 5,000 after this month, at the end of this
This month,
month.
I haven't got this month yet, so we're gonna be at 5,000-ish, right now, compared to what we were last year with the calls, and every month we have printouts, there's no surprises of exactly the calls and reimbursement from month to month to be more efficient in that. But mind you on that, from last November, December, are included, I believe. October, November, December are not included. No, there's no reimbursements done because reports weren't done. So since reports weren't done, people did not get reimbursed. They have to do the reports now for reimbursement. So really would probably be a little bit, probably about almost at $7,000 for a full year. So we efficiently with 2-3 people going on call only, if they're, and they're the only ones going to get reimbursed.
Thank you, Chief.
I just, you brought up salaries, and if we're gonna talk about salaries, I think we should include a 2% increase, that's just fair for across the board, across the board.
When last did we did last year's, when last did we do salary increases?
Last year, 3%.
We did last year
3%
3%
pretty
for
standard.
everybody.
Last year was
Cost of living
3%,
salary
and,
increase.
yeah, the year before 3%.
That's 2 years.
And then we had a one-time retention, employee stipend, I think.
Would you flip back to the other page? So our whole budget would increase with 21,000 for a 3% increase.
Can we go back a couple pages to page 9? I'm just trying to look at this hard cost, you know? 60260 electric services, that's just your power, right? So I think that needs to go up. You're gonna have 2 more bills probably. 1,700, I don't know.
Oh, wait, for what building is this? Electric service. Why do you say it's gonna go up?
Because they're already 54 in the hole.
We're
We're not through the year, yeah, and we got probably 2 bills a day.
Hottest and the hottest.
So it's 2,000?
So,
1,700?
On that same page.
then the next line down, communications.
Yeah.
That's probably a mandatory expense, I would imagine.
That's, what is that communications on?
Communications is city phones, and the officers have the Wi-Fi hotspots, the reports, and then wherever they're at.
It's a fixed cost.
And upload case file and everything else on the spot.
So that needs to go up to 9,500?
We're already at 9337.
10,000?
Probably another couple of months and probably $1,500 more dollars for 10.5, you know.
What do you think electrical services should go up to?
I think it should go up to 1,700. Maybe we're still skimping there on it.
What about the first item here, promotional? It's, the budget was 1,500, year to date actual was 453. And you asked for it was, does it really need to be $2,000?
On promotional online, I think it was 2,000 something, and that's promotional is for like, National Night Out, get the rides for your kids here, come visit on National Night, comes up in October.
And by the way, he's planned it where, or he's scheduled it, that it's not gonna be in conflict with Borzabel, like it was, I believe, last year.
Last year was the
And
process.
supplies the next.
It's an important night, I mean, we need the overall morale of people to go out to our offices.
And it's not when, I think I have it down, when is it?
Yeah.
What's the date of that, Chief?
October 2nd.
Second.
Oh, well, I think we're thinking about moving it to October 1st. That'll be on Tuesday, because we have court on Wednesday.
Oh,
Yes, I'm sorry, yes, October first, we're discussing that today.
The other supplies, you have it 5,500 and you've only used 800, 80. That's it.
I have 5,500.
What's budgeted?
I think she's on the same.
What page is that?
Other supplies?
9.
Yeah, it's really low. That's why I was, that's a good thing.
What other supplies?
Other supplies.
Other supplies would be,
5,500.
no, that was, no, the only budget on the other supplies is budgeted at 2,500. That 5,000 came in after the budget amendment, so it's not budgeted at 5,000. So for the new budget, it will become at 2,500. But after the budget amendment, which we did a few months back, what I did is change different, an item like if, and let's say vehicle maintenance, I can't buy tires with only $900, I'll put it in budget, and others I can buy tires. Or that money would not be spent. Not enough money in that budget line to buy tires.
So, I have on page 12, uniforms. Chief, you asked for, the budget to this past year budget was 7,060, and the new budget is 3,000. Do you guys need new uniforms?
So the reason for that is, for us to get 30 t-shirts, it costs about $900 for us just to get that. So one won't go around with shirts, and we use our shirts. Every Thursday night we're wearing them. You know, I don't want guys to ruin their shirts when they're doing department stuff. And also with this, I think we're hoping to get one set of bunker gear, at least with this, so we can keep it going. You know, right now we have, I think, about 15 people on roster, and you know, only a certain amount of those are brand new. So it is nice to keep them rolling. So all at one time, we're not buying, you know, 10 sets of bunker gear at $1,800 or $1,900 each. You know, we're doing like one each. So I was hoping for that to come out.
That'll be an increase of $2,000 from the previous year, and that's exactly what Chief was saying. So right now, we're all in compliance with the state, where that, and what I was hoping is to increase that so we can get uniforms, but at the same time, so we don't get hit hard and say, we need 6 sets of bunker gear at $2,000. If we increase that budget on the uniforms, we could get a set. Just keep on, because right now there's enough money except for t-shirts that tear and stuff while they're on trucks, but if we get a $3,000 increase is requested so we can get bunker gear. And then I think the other thing, if you look in here, I think it's pretty much we're going to send this up for the,
Other supplies? It dropped 5,000.
no, other supplies, we got, that's going to be again, came from,
It went from 10,400 to 5,000. Is that gonna be enough?
yeah, that's going to be, what that does, it got increased at the budget, that's the same thing as the
Same thing
police
as
department.
police.
It got increased, so it moved money from there, because you can only spend money in those, or you can only buy what's in those line items, so it moves to others to make it work to what they need. The one thing the other thing that was increased on is vehicle maintenance. Vehicle maintenance was increased so that instead of getting caught like we did, because,
It dropped, actually. It was 17,000
well,
and now it's 4,000?
It was 17 because we did the engine one repairs.
because y'all,
Oh, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I
right.
increased-
So now it's only 4.
right, but I increased that so we could get the EBT test on the trucks annually. So we won't get caught like, okay, 30 things wrong with the truck, we get the test done, we know one thing's wrong with the truck, 2 things wrong. It just wasn't done. It just wasn't done. That's why the trucks got in such poor shape. And to be certified to go on calls and everything else, they have to have the EBT test done.
What
to
about
know what's wrong.
the water service? We're already over budget there. Like you said, 1,000, now it's 500. Shouldn't that stay at 1,000?
We were,
On page 13. That's probably.
Water services for the fire department.
is over.
What is that?
Here.
This is water and sewer.
That's just a water bill?
Yeah, just for the building.
Yeah, we're already over budget, so why are we dropping it to 500?
Nobody's allowed to use the toilet.
Go to the park.
I was
Or
about
the
1500.
hydrant park.
Go to the park. 1,500?
We just need to
I
change
don't know. I don't-
1,500.
I do not know why that was.
Don't think you put a
That's
waterfront
okay,
in that.
that's why we're here.
all.
That's just might be a typo. Okay, so 1,500?
No problem. And then if you go above
Page
that,
12.
to that vehicle maintenance, just like 2, 3, 4 lines up.
Yeah. But it's saying you dropped this because this was for the fire
No,
truck
I know.
one repairs.
So we're gonna have those other maintenance, are we gonna put that as a special item?
You wanna
Oh,
put truck two
well,
in
yeah,
there?
I mean,
That's all I'm saying is,
We can increase that amount.
You wanna put truck two in there? You wanna,
all I'm saying is we could've just kept
Keep it
the
the
same
same.
budget
I'll have to ask.
and not had to.
yeah, I increased it to $4,000 without the 6,000, whatever, to have that truck fixed, the engine number 2 fixed. This was just, the 4,000 was just requested to maintain, to have the EVT test done on the truck.
We could do a 15 and still cover that.
Yeah.
Probably some overages when they break into it.
Exactly, that's all I'm saying, and you could, your budget won't really change that way.
And that will cover fire truck two. So like that 15?
It seems like it would cover, it should just be unknown is what's gonna happen when they break into the truck.
So fire truck two is,
Contingency. And then if you go back up to page 10. Just because I don't know what grants mean.
That's easy though.
And then it
yes, that
goes-
doesn't need to.
That goes back to that budget amendment, once again.
What is that, Bruno? Yeah,
Right.
There was zero budgeted, but the year that, I didn't. What was that?
That was the $13,000 grant.
The
That
cost,
should have
the
been
cost
included as
us,
on the budget. We didn't include it as a budget, should have been included as a budget. We should have included on the revenues and also on the expenditures.
so this is a revenue, not an expenditure.
It's a
an
washout,
expenditure.
right?
It's a washout.
So since I've been here, or in the last year, we've got $20,000 grant, or, yeah, it was $20,000 grant for the fire and rescue supplies. We've gotten the grant for the workout equipment. Oh, this is police. Oh,
Oh, it's police, I'm sorry.
sorry.
Sorry,
Go back and forth.
I'm sorry, you're confused. Let me get my other paper. Which grant now?
I don't know.
Here, this one, Chief.
Line item
Page
63500.
13,000.
Your body armor?
Body armor came in that one grant. It came in the. 21,800.
Let me clarify that.
I don't know about that.
We'll clarify that.
But it came in the 77,000, right? It was part of that 77,000 that came in grant police?
77 for overtime.
That, the
Yeah.
77 is just for overtime? Is there another police grant?
And then the other police grant is going to be Stone Garden, I'm trying to break down, the breakdown was $21,877 for overtime. It was $10,800, I think, for bulletproof vest. And then we had $1,200 for, it's a grant, but it broke it down in different, there's $1,200 for the PFDs, and then $4,000 for the thermal energy device. Was that grant, they broke that down, so.
But that's still, that should be in another position though, right? That should be in the revenues?
Oh, you know what that is? That, you know what that
It's
is?
on
I think
the, yeah, on page
remember
one,
when we used part of
48,600,
that
I mean, 48,750, the 93,000, it's in there.
Is that it?
On the revenues,
Okay.
where it says, grant police at the bottom, 93,000, it's in there.
Okay, but is it a receivable at the moment?
Yeah, because it's negative.
Yes.
It's a receivable.
We just haven't got it.
That's a big number.
So it's a revenue, is that what you mean with receivable? That's a revenue. So it's not just on the loan side.
Well, it should have been booked as a revenue and a receivable.
Yeah.
Well, what I was saying, it's in the, it's in the
After
93,
the
750
77 that
that
have
we
been
haven't, we
received, that's
haven't,
the
we've only
difference.
received 77
Right.
of the 93,
Yeah,
so that's
correct.
where it's landing.
That's
It's
the
landing in
difference.
the, it's landing in the total budgeted, but not in the year-to-date actual.
That's what I'm saying, it should be included in the year-to-date as a revenue.
The 70.
It is, she says, right here at 93, 750.
Now, that's a budget item, that's not an actual. The 77,162?
Yeah, but the 77,160, isn't that money that we just have received?
Yes.
Yes, but we should also book as revenues, monies that we expect to get,
Okay,
okay, in the next in the government in the next 90 days.
okay.
Okay, and so that should be a receivable, and so your revenue would increase. So we know, not as bad a shape as,
Right, okay. All right,
So
so,
let's
yeah.
look better.
that's all. Like, in a reimbursable grant, the minute
We know we're
the
getting
minute
this
you,
money that's-
the minute you spend it, you earn it.
Right. Okay, so, yeah, there's no question about whether it's
So
coming or not.
it's dollar for dollar.
Right.
Okay, I'm on page 16 now. The first one, this is library, food and ice. 500, last year budget, year to date is 350, they're reducing 1,000. Can we keep that at 500? Same with, yes?
Yes.
Same with promotional items. $1,000, year to date is 950, requesting 1,500. Can we keep that at 1,000?
Yes.
But keep in mind that, you know, we've already created a Facebook account to the library, so you're gonna see more activities at the library.
I understand,
And-
but you can also go to the Friends of the Library and the money market account, and pay any money.
I'm not laughing, I'm like, laughing at it. That's a great point, because I was going to. Other supplies, it's at 500, its year to date is 282, can we make that 1,000 and 500 again? Sorry, I'm trying to touch the budget, I'm just trying to find money to pay you.
That's fine.
If you need ice, call us.
Yes.
We'll bring ice.
Not that money for revenue.
Fire department has those.
Okay, so, that's.
Sell it to you.
Same with building maintenance, so right now it's 2,000, year to date is 656. So right here is when we're really looking at the roof and the painting, but why are we making it 3,500 when we need, what did we say, $16,000?
This was done before the painting and all that.
Okay.
And the reason I have it at that amount was if anything with the AC, anything comes up in the year, we cover it, but I agree with the painting on the roof, yeah.
Yeah. But that's somewhere where we can put painting or roofing, or just drop it back to 2,000. And then add what we need to add for the library in our wish list. Make some notes. Same with communications. How about travel? There's the travel budget, it's 1,300, and I've only spent $143.
Yeah, that one because I had to cancel my TLA conference.
So you're
because
gonna
of
go this
something.
year?
Yes, this year.
And it's
It's
almost like
something-
in April, isn't it?
It's gonna be in March this year,
March,
but
that's right.
I had to cancel it because of my.
Okay, so that'll be
Yes.
about,
Yes,
you're gonna
ma'am.
need the 1,300 for that, okay.
So it's so much information.
That's why you guys are here, to answer these questions. But the communications for, the year-to-date is 3,700, you're requesting for
It's a
4,600.
phone line.
Is it- Can we keep it at 4? We're only at 37,
We can always keep it at 4, and if I have to do a budget.
They're over budget at 4.
you think?
Totally,
We're at 93%?
they spent 93%, they should be at 87.5%.
Okay, well, let's just do that. Okay. I'm at page 18. Botanical supplies, $1,000, year to date, is only spent 0, but asking 2.
What's botanical?
What is that?
No, this is a first. Because there's a botanical account in the public works, and we try to use that one out before we start using this one. Because I think in the public works on the botanical, it's already linked to that. I think that's where it was.
I noticed that, and I was thinking, some board of me thinks this should be the same budget. But
Yeah, see, in
botanical supplies
botanical,
is
we use
3,000.
2,400,
Yeah,
so.
so this one you're saying is, this is just an extra that when you're this one.
Well, I mean, it
finish
should
using
be,
this
it
one?
should be in one or the other, but probably not both. Is what I think.
So the 2,000 should be 0, and then you should.
And leave the other one, yeah, Mr.
And
Brennan and I
three.
were talking about it today, about having two of them on there.
So
We could drop
botanical-
one or the other.
Okay, let's drop it. It's $2,000. Okay, so that's a 0.
Wait, where you at?
Okay, why are we dropping?
Because botanical supplies
Because Public Works has one, and
has one as well, that's
And
3,000.
they're not using it the way that
Right,
it's
not using it
listed
the one
anyway,
they
because
have.
they're putting plants in the park and they're buying it off of the public.
Is
works
that,
budget.
that's okay?
2,000.
Then also motor services. We are budgeted at 9,000, we've used 7,400. We're at 82%, but we've asked for 11,500. What is going on?
Going up.
It is?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, yes.
But how much?
We have all those systems, you're in the need.
No, I know, but that's not, that's like it's like $40 on a $150,000 house. You know, it's not like, it's gonna be 0.04 cents.
Much more than you think.
Okay.
Trust me, I do water bills a lot.
Okay, so, I'll give that then.
This Mike is a water man.
Yeah, believe me.
Okay, I'm on page 21. Computer supplies. Okay. 21. This is for the municipal court. This is literally me just looking for small cuts so we can.
Yeah.
So this is $500. 189 has been spent, but we're asking for 1,000. Can we keep that at 500?
no, but we need a new tower for the municipal court desk.
How much
Because the
is
IT
down
guy already
cost?
told, it was probably around about 700
Okay.
with the tower and the broken.
Okay, thank you, Alma. Then for the court building security, what is the court building security?
It's a washout from the revenue, it's part of the court cost that comes in, but it can only be used for building security.
And what is the building security? Do we pay for an officer?
No, well, no, it's security, like the keypads that on those, I paid for them out of building security. Because it has to be used for building security for the municipal court.
But that's a one-time cost, no?
No, that's every year, but it comes in every year, it's in the revenue, it's a washout. And the same thing with the technology fund, it's a washout.
It's 63, 21, page 21. This one.
63,300.
Yes, this one.
63,350.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry, I didn't know. One below. Where are we?
But it's supposed to be a
It's the
wash.
same one, he's just looking at it.
We've only collected half of it though.
Which one, Mike?
The court building security.
Court building security and then is 2870, and then the court building security revenue is 1473.
So,
I'm just curious.
so that's, are those numbers correct? Or are they just not? Because Alma was saying it's a lot.
I'm confused.
So in the revenue, it says our security is, our budget was 3,000. Our year-to-date actual was 1473. But on our budget, it says our actual cost was 2870, so we're at a loss at that point. So it's not a wash, according to the papers.
Right, because for, let me explain. For every violation has a court cost of $92.10. Of that court cost, we get $4 for technology and $3 for court building security, out of every court cost. So naturally, if the court cost is down, then the technology and the building are gonna be down also. But we budget the expense from the top, from the beginning of the year. But yeah, so we are short in the revenue, but it's.
How do you know all these things? Years of
30 years.
experience.
30 years.
30 years.
Yeah, so that, I mean, I say it's a washout, assuming that we take all the, but since our court costs are below budget, then that's why those two are gonna be below budget, just like our fines are gonna be below
Can we
budget.
call you when you're going to ask a question?
Sure.
Thank you.
Just the.
Okay, thank you all. I am.
Oh, that's not, I have it here, but we don't
We
use it.
have one more question. You also have.
We don't use it.
I'm on page 25.
35?
No, you're good, I like your question.
25.
Give me maybe, I don't use it.
Page 25. Hydrant maintenance. So, our budget is 64, our year-to-date actual is only 4308. We're budgeting, I don't even know how we came up with that number.
There was a surplus when we're trying to balance it, and we just plugged it in there.
There you go.
Creative.
Very good, okay. So, well, that's just one of those things where we need to make, this needs to be, either, I don't know, either we ask to put hydrants right now for this, some needs to be done. Like non-negotiable, right?
So you said,
Are we gonna have to get it
Do
to?
the wish list at the end.
Yeah, I am a thing.
No, you have to go back, you have to go back one page, because we're over budget and they lowered the,
Okay, I'll go, okay, so let's keep that.
the
one.
building maintenance and vehicle maintenance. They lowered the
Wait,
budget,
wait,
but
let's stay
they're
on the
over.
same part before we go. Street sign maintenance. Budget was 1,000, zero spent, asking for 1,500. Are those the signs that you were talking about, or those the signs you want to fix? What is this for?
These are the street signs, like, we show the name of the street.
But we, it's usually
Okay.
Do we have some that are?
So just,
Can we make that a zero? Just give it 1,500. Why?
No, actually,
let me.
I'm surprised that we haven't spent any money for street
Yeah.
sign maintenance, because we get those, you get the stop signs that are knocked over, you get some of the street signs that are stolen, they need to be replaced. Not only that, there's some intersections where we need to put street signs. And when you talk about police and fire, when there's not a corner, there's not a sign that says what corner it is, it can play a.
Well, that means.
But didn't we just recently put some
How many,
signs
how
on?
many do you say?
Ma'am, I mean,
How many street signs do you
Stop
think you would
signs.
order?
But that didn't cost.
Yeah, I'm just, I know we had purchased some street signs, I don't know why not.
you just go on the post, everything
So
goes.
sometimes they have spares.
How many streets do you think?
There were extras.
There's-
Okay, I think we
Yeah,
had
I
said
have
that.
extra
That's
money.
right. I think you had said that. We had extras.
$500, he says.
Just street sign maintenance.
So 500 for streets, but
We have spent a ton of money at the golf course replacing signs, and
well, we're at
Not that
zero,
many.
so there's something missing.
it's expensive, those,
Yeah, it
like
is.
those signs are.
The old township is sorely lacking.
Well, let's keep,
Yes,
can
I
we look
agree.
into that, please? Before
And
we
the signage
finalize this
is a
one.
nice pop for our town.
and your signage doesn't count like reflectors on the ground?
No.
What page do you
I'll look
wanna
at-
go back to?
24th Street.
Because of no one.
So is it going to 500?
Yes, Matilda.
What page?
25. 6240.
Oh, yeah, I got that.
You were going to the page.
62, on page 24, 61, 900 and 6,200. We're over budget,
Which ones?
and we lowered the budget.
Yeah, from 27 to 1,500 on one of them.
Wait, this is?
Building maintenance.
6190.
Oh, I was gonna ask Public Works, what is that building maintenance? Because we are administration and building maintenance. What is the Public Works maintenance? The toilets, the bathrooms?
You have a,
The what?
Pretend I made, no, I don't use that. Or you was telling me, why you have building maintenance, you don't even have a building.
That's another plug, I guess.
No, Alma, can you explain that building maintenance?
Well, I think on the admin one, that I think we budgeted 5,000, that's when we redid the floor. That was the big expense for that, and so that was at City Hall. And this one, it's kind of like, building maintenance is kind of like any things that they, like, if they do baseboards or things like that, like Public Works does, you know, or hoses and stuff like that. They just kind of, it's kind of like a catch-all for stuff, you know, basically.
Yeah, remember on vehicle maintenance, they spent a lot of money on the green truck.
Yeah, but can we name these things a little bit better than that? It's not so confusing for us.
I know, because I don't like other.
You know, especially when you move money around like that, which I guess needs to happen, but it's, yeah, like the other supplies. What,
And other supplies in every department is pretty much a catch-all. It's kind of like a miscellaneous.
but you just said the building maintenance is a catch-all.
No, I'm talking about building stuff, you know, but I'm saying about other supplies, you know, what Ms. Howard was asking.
Yeah.
Yes, when I'm talking about building maintenance, it's like building stuff, you know, like if they have to redo the window or something like that, or anything like that.
So like
But
for,
what window, because this is.
Like
for
the PD
bathrooms?
window, we've had to redo it twice because
But
they
this is
get,
the administration building, this is the public works.
yeah, that's what I'm saying, that's the one that they use. That's the account that they use.
But shouldn't there, that should be under administration, in my opinion. Is this just money being moved around?
No, it's not moved around, it's like anything that they use in the surrounding area, you know. Like if they have, like if we have electrical problems and
No,
like
I
the light bills
get
come in, well then that's where they'll charge it to, is building maintenance.
I get
But
that.
not admin. The only thing I budgeted on admin was that particular project, the floor. I knew I wanted to do the floor and that was it. Other than that, it's
But
not.
then why don't we put everything under building maintenance?
Yeah, and
For administration, because I think, especially with somebody like me that doesn't, I'm not a finance background, I don't understand finances that well, so for me to understand this better, and even if a citizen comes off the street, you know, I think we need to be very much more specific, you know, and more, like it's confusing to me, like, there's a building maintenance, there's a building maintenance, just for it to be a little bit more specific, that's just my little opinion.
Okay, anything
So do we
else?
think building maintenance is gonna go down?
No, it's really, how do we know that?
I mean, we spent 27 and we budgeted 27.
But you need
And
to
they lowered
include
to
it,
15.
you need to add it to the other building maintenance, so it's another budget.
But wasn't that the building maintenance on the reflooring
For
of
the
it?
floor, yes.
On my admin, yes.
But, and then
Yeah,
it
but
stayed,
yes,
and it
this is-
stayed at
yeah.
5,000. Actually, if you go back to that,
Let me-
building, it
let me
stayed
look
at
at those.
5,000, and you don't need that 5,000 again.
Let me look at those
Or you
three
did it
maintenance
before.
accounts in Public Works.
No, but that's what, he was saying the renovation. He said that.
We look,
5,000.
we need to rename those and clarify.
But now that we're talking about it, that 5,000 we used last year was for a new floor. So we didn't even do, we're not gonna do a new floor again.
No, but he said renovation. He
Yes, but
mentioned-
we haven't approved the renovation.
Oh, but that's what that 5,000 is.
So let's put this 5,000 back to a zero, because we already decided that the front office remodel is at the very bottom
On
of our
admin?
list. Yes,
So,
on the
okay.
admin.
So, what
Does
page
that
is
make
that on?
sense?
Page 4,
Yes, ma'am, page 4.
okay. And then leave the public works one.
Leave the public works, actually, I think the public works
Public
more
Works
needs to
needs to
increase.
be bigger.
Needs to be 3,000. Because we're already
They
at
gotta fix that green
100%.
truck so I can buy it.
They
It's a nice truck.
But then if it's like 5,000 out of the building maintenance under admin, make that a zero. Then we have 5,000 more to play with, because we haven't approved
We get more
the
money
front
out of it
office
by
remodel
selling it
yet.
as an antique.
And that 5,000 was for floors, correct?
Yes,
And we already have the floor.
yes,
So we can make that a zero.
yes.
Or do you need,
No, that was it, that's what it was for.
she's like, no, no,
no, you need something else for it?
No, I mean, I like to do the renovations to the front desk.
I'd like to get new fire hydrants.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think that should be a priority.
Can't we look for money for CBC for building, community
I don't think we get enough.
I think you just need to go to the CDC.
Anything else in our budget?
Well, now we have to look at our,
Are we finished with this?
Just sitting there. And then they're gonna get
You wanna write them all down?
yes, all my, I did. Did
You
you
wrote
write
them all
them all
down?
down?
I hope so.
I numbered them.
Well, then go through it again, Angel.
Okay,
Real
Let's
quick.
go through it again.
One
No,
more
I'm kidding, no, I'm kidding.
page 4.
She's ready.
Pluses and minuses.
Okay, page 4, we're taking out the 5,000.
Yes.
On the water supplies, we're going up to 5,000.
3,000.
No, 5.
5,000, no, 5.
Water
Oh,
service.
sorry, I'm thinking of the bullet.
Okay, and then on 60340 building insurance, we're going up to 25,000.
Yeah.
And 60360 travel, we're dropping to 7,000.
Yeah,
60370 training and is dropping to 1,000.
yeah,
60440 legal service is going up to 40,000.
yes. Page 4.
60450 is going to 6,000.
Yes, ma'am.
That's page 4, page 5 is nothing. Page 6, nothing. Page 7, 8, page 9.
Right.
60260 electrical service is going to 1,700.
That's right.
Yeah,
60300 is going to 10,500.
yeah.
Yes.
Page 11.
The grads is.
12. Page 13, 60200 is going to 15,000.
Yes,
60270 is going to 1,500.
yes.
Page 14 is blank. Page 15. Page 16, 60130 is dropping to 500. 60135 is dropping to 1,000. 60160 is dropping to 500.
Yes.
60190 is dropping to 2,000. 60300 is dropping to 4,000. Yes?
No,
Which was the last
that's staying the same.
Which one?
Communications is staying at,
4650, what is it,
Yes.
4650?
yes.
And building maintenance is dropping to 3,000?
Building is dropping to 2,000 is what I have.
Yeah, we only use 6.
The way it was before, yeah, because they only use 656.
And then travel stays the same.
Okay, so page 17, page 18, 60110 is dropping to 0.
Like technical.
Page 19, page 20, 21, 22, 23. Page 24, 60200 is going to 3,000. And
No,
60,
no, 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 no.
no?
Oh, yes, but what about 60190, building maintenance?
Oh, that's, what I, yeah, that's the one I meant. What did I
Yeah.
say? Oh, yeah, 60190 is going to 3,000.
And then 60200 is staying at 2,500.
Yeah,
No,
I
but
didn't
that's
touch
not,
that.
It does.
that needs to go up though, because we're at 106%. Didn't we say that goes to 3,000 as well? Because we're at,
It
yeah,
should be.
Yeah, but this is the one that they spent all that money on the green truck.
yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Which is not,
But it's still keep it at 3,000 because we still have it.
yeah, but they're not gonna, they don't use it anymore.
Oh, okay, so what should that be in what?
So 25 is the same.
Just keep it 25, okay?
Okay, page 25, 60240 is dropping to 500.
We got a good
26,
job on
and,
that.
yeah, that's it.
Just got the net there.
Oh, gotta add them all up. I wasn't wondering, I thought you already had that
If you wanna
number.
talk about this, I can add it up.
Yeah.
If you wanna guys talk about the priorities and like what are we gonna budget?
Okay, all right. So while Mike's adding that up,
I'll add it.
what you, what's number 1?
I'm just gonna add the extra money.
Oh, yes, departmental request and salary increases.
No, then you need.
Number 1,
What do you mean?
fire hydrants. You all agree?
C, fire hydrants. Priority number 1.
Just do the difference. Just do the difference.
I think there's, no, there's a lot of variance.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. There's a lot of variance, so I think Mr. Brennan needs to do it on the computer. We will
Oh,
get the numbers.
Let me
Because
suggest
some
this.
increase, some less.
We'll make the necessary changes based on what you discussed.
we'll make the changes on those various accounts. What I'd like to know from you, what we'd like to know from you is, what would you like to include, you know, on
The priority list.
yeah, number one. Number two, do you want to use some of the money from cash and bank reserves from some of those one-time expenditures? So,
Personally, I think we should, the new officer, the fire hydrants, the drug repair, but we already budgeted for the drug repair, so we can take that out. What do we think we should budget for the fire hydrants?
Truck repair, oh, the fire truck.
I'd rather $100,000.
For the fire hydrants?
Yeah, cause they have 30 to 105.
hopefully it'll be less. Hopefully
So
it'll be
then the new
less.
officers, so we're at 156,000.
Well, if we're at the low end of the fire truck, I mean the fire hydrants, it's 86 plus the 86,000.
I'm hoping the fire hydrants will be less than.
I know 30 instead of 2,000. Is that gonna be 2,000 for all of them?
Any fire hydrants have to be dealt with, we can, the truck doesn't do us any good with our fire hydrants.
And the truck,
And-
yeah.
And personally, you know, you gotta take care of your people, cost of living increases 3%.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, it depends on how tight the money is, we haven't done all the math yet, depending on how tight the money is, maybe the fire truck can wait, you know. But the fire hydrants, I don't think can.
I don't think the fire truck.
You know, what works.
We do, but it's already, remember when they did their presentation?
So
They
why
were
don't we
talking
do
about
like middle of the budget for?
how important it was to have a backup truck. It was like,
Do what?
Sounded
I'm sorry to
good.
hear what you're saying.
it was kind of pertinent to have a second working truck,
So
right?
for a second working truck,
From
in
the
order to be in
presentation.
compliance, you're supposed to have a backup truck. If engine one goes down on the way to a fire, how are you gonna respond to it and put it out? Engine two, we were using it for training this past week, and it didn't work that great. Almost all the gauges are broke on it, so you don't know how much pressure you're putting out. So there are stuff, to me, engine two is pretty important, because if you have the hydrants, water at the hydrant, you gotta get it to the house. And if we have a full house fire, we're gonna use both trucks and call in more firefighters.
That's what I remember from the presentation.
So it's, you know, it's a give and take from one to the other, I understand. Hydrants are expensive.
Okay, so but we already budgeted the truck. So the officer, a new officer, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's a new officer. I'm gonna stop.
The contingency number, can we take 100,000 out of that number? and
Well,
do that
that's
for
the
hydrants?
152 that they're talking about.
Okay, and then the other request, can we use from cash and bank for outlay capital outlays?
That's your
Okay, we have $166,000 increase because of the tax rate that we are paying, right?
Correct.
That is extra money we're gonna have, correct?
Correct. However.
Am I seeing that right?
Correct.
Because Mike
Now,
said
keep in
something.
mind, the budget that you have in the binder, it showed it showed expenditures of 13,000 over revenues. So when you subtract 13,000 from the 166, you have 152.
So you're
And
saying we
that-
have 152 to.
Absolutely, and that's in the contingency, the 152. That's what,
I'm saying use 100,000 for the hydrants from that number, and then the other capital outlays used from cash and bank. Yeah, so it's on that 2,000. If we wanted to go that.
Mike, what do you think about? Good guy.
I think we budget the 3% increase first. Right?
So it's gonna add 21,398
21,398,
to,
and then the officer, 56,000. Those are continuous costs every year. Those will never stop, right? So
yeah.
those are numbers you can't throw out, you can't get out of fund balance.
The red numbers or the blue numbers?
Okay.
Don't forget to use center. We use center.
That's actually, the convention center, I'm sorry, but I
Alma
was.
said it.
No,
I'm just
yeah,
repeating
thank
what she
you,
said.
thank you, Alma. I was thinking, we get asked for money all the time. Every year, I think most families, we do it as a family, I think it's important to budget an annual amount that we're willing to donate. You know, people ask us for money, so should we
Because
say
they already
it's
did
like,
5,000.
no, we already, but that's enough, this is this fiscal year, correct?
Stay out of this.
Yeah.
That's this
Yeah,
past
we
fiscal
did
year.
5,000.
We've done
But-
5,000
For the last
twice
two-
now.
yeah.
That's
But the
traditional.
point is, when they came to ask, we had to revise our budget.
Correct.
Come up with
Revisit
a
our
budget.
budget.
My point is, if we come up with a donations account, that we have money in already, that we're like, this is what we have every year, and this is what we're willing to give, that will make our life easier than it is. Just saying.
Okay.
That's that, we need to fix the library building, that's one of our fixed assets. We need to fix the roof.
Can that come out of
We
CDC
need to
money?
fix the firehouse.
Yes.
I mean, those are two things that, I think that's $25,000.
I think we need all of these.
I would like to
I know.
donate to the youth center, but
How much money do we
We
have in
need
the
to put-
CDC account?
we need to wait, I think.
300,000.
Can we do the library? 16,000 for the library, 15,000 for the firehouse out of the CDC. And if we can, we can. Yes, and if we can, we add your front renovations to that.
Yes, do it, let's do it.
Let's ask.
Okay, so that is, I'm too tired to think, what's the math of 15,
That's
25?
36,000.
Perfect.
All right.
So 36 we got from the CDC. Okay. So now the 3% increase, the new officer, fire hydrants, and the new truck for Woody.
What truck is he using right now?
Willie's truck.
Borrowing the golf cart.
The
Chief's
well,
truck.
hopefully the chief car.
It's the golf cart.
I'm borrowing their truck right now. The black truck.
F-150
What's
for
the
fire
white
department.
one? What's the white one that's there?
That was mine, but now,
And who would be using that truck if you weren't borrowing it?
who was mine? The fire chief.
And what do you drive?
That's just a spare truck when we do training or if we have to get people somewhere, that's what they take. If we have training to go to in another town, stuff like that, we use it for that. So we're not taking the command, which has all of our medical stuff in it, so we're not taking it out of the town.
And it belongs to the fire department.
It's,
Well,
It belongs to the police department.
Okay.
Oh,
That
the-
vehicle
it's
is-
been moved around.
That vehicle is a seized vehicle that was awarded to the
where can we
the
seize
police
another
department
vehicle?
from.
Where can we seize another vehicle?
We tried. We tried. We had a vote. We had a vote. We had a vote.
Really, you can take, my cube needs about 6 to 6.
But the fire department has been using that vehicle for what?
You can take my
their
cube for
needs. It
free,
has
I'll
a-
donate it.
It has a lot of miles on it, it's
Over 100,000
ran,
miles.
there's holes in the roof, it's.
And it's
Okay,
not-
I have a suggestion, how about, would it be okay, instead of getting a new truck, fixing this one up a little bit, will you use
Use
it
it
during the
public
day? You
Will
guys,
it last you another year?
you guys using it during the
Willie.
weekend, would that work?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll donate my
Would
cube.
that
I'll
work?
take a cube,
We should
but 5 to
as you can
6,000.
see, we're
We use
pretty
it,
good.
we just use it, but we have spare keys for it, where if we need to use it, we can get on.
It's
Did you
just
guys,
the
did you
front.
guys hear what I suggested? I was like, since it's their extra truck,
Well, no, this has been, again, we're back on maintenance. I know when I was with the police department, we've had the transmission worked on it. Have you taken in for transmission?
Yeah.
The transmission issue, the mechanics cannot see to fix.
So Raymond, right?
No, that will be,
The black one's got
The
bad
black
training
one.
too?
Yes.
As well
It
as.
has, it also has
Season's
a,
used.
holes
has
in
to
the
be
roof
replaced.
from being here so long that
That's about
it's
$400.
rusted
It
on
leaks,
top.
when it rains inside. So,
so can we maybe to use, instead of buying a new truck, maybe spend some money to fix this one up? And then maybe use that for a while and maybe put a new truck on next year's budget?
No, let me explain that years ago, I think before the chief's time, where I think the chief was here, we had one or two different police units. And people, we had a white car, unmarked. It makes an impression on people. When you're promoting the city, you have nice police units, you have nice public works trucks. It shows the type of commitment.
It does.
So it makes a world of a difference. I mean, look at the police units, they're all the same. I mean, And I think if we can have the same for Public Works, we'll have white trucks with the town logo, yeah, it's a
It would be
promotional.
nice, but.
Yeah.
So we got, you know, we got 3% increases, which is 21,398 plus the police, 56,000 plus the 19,000. Comes up to 96,398, just for those three.
On the other hand, it might be better just to buy another truck instead of spending more money on something that's.
We'll be the cubes.
I think sell both and buy some.
So, buy what you work.
So where can we get this on,
The truck.
where can we
You're
get
gonna
this?
buy the truck or not buy the truck?
He's been asking for like
It'll come out of the budget.
2 years.
It'll come out of the-
Don't just
Now,
get the
here's,
truck.
here's what I said,
Okay.
this is my opinion.
Sure.
Is that we put the, you wanna buy the truck, we put the truck in, and then you balance the budget with fire hydrant money.
Okay.
And then, as we find out more about fire hydrant expense,
Yeah.
we can amend the budget as we go.
Because hopefully it'll be less than 100,000.
Correct.
And then, and it might, who knows how long it'll take.
Yeah.
And we have it, as long as we collect some money, there's money in these grants that aren't collected, let's get the money. We won't, because we're gonna be negative this year if we don't collect money. So that's the big number, that's the big if right now for me. Because if we go, what I think we're gonna go, we'll be down to 120 days of fund balance, which is 4 months,
Which
compared to
is,
6 months.
what you want is 3 months though, right?
No.
No, we want 6 months.
More than, you
No,
want
absolutely,
6
we
to
want 6
9
months, but,
If a major hurricane comes through here, we're screwed. And so,
That's why we've always tried to be prudent.
we've always been, yeah, to keep a good high fund
At least
balance.
5 months.
And so, yeah, we've never been to 4 months. I don't think we should always try to shoot for 6 months, just in my humble opinion. So, that's just,
no, that's being wise.
I agree with you, Larry.
Sure.
That we should do.
you know,
Okay, so what are you saying? So we're doing
We
the,
won't know the cost.
the
You won't
90,
know the cost of the fire
You
hydrants
don't.
until it happens.
Yeah, exactly.
so we do the 96,000,
Yeah.
we do that in the budget.
96,000 for fire hydrants.
No, yes.
96,000 for the
Salaries.
salary increase,
The
the new
police
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 officer,
officer,
the new
Library.
maintenance truck.
truck,
Okay, we're gonna
Oh,
try to
not
go
the
for
libraries.
library,
For the library.
firehouse,
That's in the
library,
CDC.
firehouse,
and the building for
Property is-
CDC
That's
funds.
CDC.
yeah.
And then the remainder should go to fire hydrants and fire stuff, because we know we need fire. We know,
So wait, what's the
we've
remainder?
needed it forever.
Yeah, what's
Where
the
will we get the
remainder?
remainder from?
The remainder is 96 minus 158. So 60 some odd $1,000.
That's why I said the middle, that's why I was like, just do the
So
middle.
that's, the 60 will be for the fire
Because
hydrants.
they're ready.
And the truck. The fire
No,
truck.
96
Fire trucks already.
Oh, and the fire truck.
No, the fire truck's already budgeted.
There's some budget money in there, but I think it's gonna go over that. to be
Maybe.
honest with
Did you include the youth center in there?
you.
No,
No.
we still haven't included.
No, so you're talking about
But wait,
all the fire hydrants, right?
I mean, top hydrant, did
Yeah.
we give last year?
Keep discriminating against fire hydrants.
That's a question.
They're all fire hydrants.
No, but
They should, because
Wait,
they're.
I know there's some fire hydrants.
We're always giving the
I don't know the
community.
density level in some of these where, I mean, do people live in some of these areas? that
Oh,
were-
yeah, 10,000 is nothing for there.
I know bees, you have bees here all the time, so they need to be repaired, but what about some of those in the lower end?
There.
Are they having it?
Oh, their taxes are ridiculous.
People live in all the areas.
Yeah. We don't have areas that are unlivable spaces.
People, I mean, but
Oh,
the priority should be
Down my knees.
the list.
Those 5 places.
Those places, you know, the fire hydrant working over there, things, part of the whole building goes up, you know, and we gotta,
I was
you know,
going to ask
come
you, but
back
you got gone over there
to
and
another
ended up
priority
already.
to get water, you know.
Because you
So
remember
what are
the
we
week
gonna
she
do
said.
with
We need to do something
$5,000?
with the youth center.
Well, I don't think we should go over what we've traditionally given, but I think we should
Yeah,
go
I
ahead and give
agree.
what we've traditionally
Okay.
given.
And then South Porter Island,
As a step up.
Pontiac.
That's, you know, that's not our business.
That's what we just.
Yeah.
So 5,000 for the youth center. I still think we need to create a budget line item for donations. I don't know, is that common in the budget?
No, it's
No,
gonna,
keep in
it's gonna
mind
be a
that-
service agreement.
Yeah,
It
that's
depends
not
on
a donation.
Award donation is
So it's gonna be a
not-
service
Has to
agreement.
They have to do this so they can.
Contracted services, so
Right.
you're contracted with them for them to provide services in the community.
So how do we budget that?
We would include those 5,000 in
Under
contract
contract
services.
services.
Oh, perfect.
Are we all on the same page?
The roof CDC, right?
The library roof and painting, the 15,000, that's 16,000, the 15,000 for the firehouse,
Yeah.
and the 6,000 for the front office renovations in CDC.
What's the total?
It's 36,000. Wait, no, that doesn't sound right. 15.
It's more.
And the admin ran out was
20,
20,000.
36. Yeah.
Oh, it's
15, 5, and 6.
Sorry, Mike, 36, sorry. Then, we're gonna, the new officer,
Salary.
this 3% salary increase, the new truck, or a second-hand truck, obviously.
That's 96,390.
There's 8,000
Where'd you
of
get
hydrants in
158?
public works.
I know, you're right, we were talking about that earlier, thank you, Alma. Remember guys, we, in our earlier budget, we talked about.
152, sorry.
Oh, if it's.
It's under public works.
What page is that on?
I'm not worried about revenue side.
Remember,
25.
remember that guys? The fire
There's
hydrant,
8,000.
there's already 8,000 in the hydrant maintenance budget. So, can we just leave that as is,
Because what if,
and
When you
then
put
add,
the rest of the money,
how do you do
just,
that?
like, we know what our hard costs are, and our contingency, like, we don't know what fire hydrants are gonna cost,
yeah,
but we know we have to fix them. We put the rest of our budget in the fire hydrants, and then as the costs incur, we do budget amendments and
Yes.
take money out of,
So whatever, all that's left, you're gonna
out
have
of
to
fund
put,
balance to pay for it.
you're gonna put in 6225, is that what you're saying? All that money that's left is gonna put on this line item?
Yeah.
Hydrant, and it's gonna be whatever, 60 something, plus this 8, it's gonna be 72 something $1,000,
Because
right?
I think revenue needs to be lowered. I think revenue needs to be dropped.
Okay, well, let's look at that.
How much are we putting in hydrants?
That's gonna be, that's gonna be your, that's gonna be your, I hate to use the word, but plug.
Yeah.
It's gonna be whatever's left.
There you go, there's.
Added to the 8.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yeah.
Whatever's left,
But like I say, I think you need to lower revenues. I think revenues are overstated.
okay? We'll talk us through that, what do you think?
Okay, well, I think we'll actually hit our sales tax numbers. Franchise fees,
We'll get it also.
franchise fees will hit that. Special events, you lowered that.
We could check that one out.
It's that grant number that just sticks out of me like,
The 20,000?
no, yeah, the 18 that were $18,000 less.
The police?
No, the 48,000.
The item number 48,000. What was that, why is that?
That's for a grant, we made 20,000 when we administer a grant, and that's the one that we're waiting any day now, but we're not gonna be able to complete the whole grant, so I'm gonna have to change that.
Right, we're gonna have to lower that number. So,
But, okay, wait, is that a grant we're for sure gonna get next year too?
TDA, that's a one street improvements for this, all this area.
So why can we not get the full amount yet this year?
Well, we were hoping to make the round, there's 2 rounds, you get it earlier the year, if you didn't get it earlier the year, you get it the second round. So we're making the second round.
So we're
but
gonna
we
get
haven't
it.
incurred any expenditures.
No,
because-
correct. Correct.
It's even a worse situation. And then the police grant, the 16,000, we're gonna get that, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir. So I think we need to
So
lower
the courthouse
our, we
is
need to
like-
lower our revenue budget by $20,000 basically. Because we're gonna incur street expenses for that $20,000 next year, which we haven't included in this year's budget.
conservative, you think that's a good idea?
Yeah, we're including the 20,000 in this coming year's budget.
In expenditures?
No, actually, we have for contracted services, but that pays for the in-house grant administration.
That's what I'm saying. So
that's,
we're gonna have money
That's a gentleman
over
that
and
helps you
above.
sometimes, correct?
yeah, but because of what Alma and I do, we get reimbursed, so the city makes money in that regard.
Oh, so you get paid,
Yeah, well, I don't get paid, but the city does.
or the city gets?
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is that $20,000 was supposed to pay for street improvements,
The grant
No.
administration,
the TDA.
No.
grant
Well, what's it
administration.
supposed to be?
Well,
That's a
20,000.
reimbursement,
Yeah.
that's a reimbursement that we get from TDA for in-house
For
grant
administration, this is
Yeah.
strictly administration.
Yes, but we didn't get it this year.
No, we're gonna get it in the new year,
New year.
and we budgeted for the new year. So, yeah, we're gonna get it in October, late October.
But it's still at a loss thing for this year, that's what Mike's trying to say.
I need to change that.
Right, because we did get it.
But we don't need to change the proposed, that's correct.
Yes.
Because it's gonna
Right.
come in.
But we do need to change it.
Right.
So we need to drop it by 20,000.
On the current one.
Well, there's nothing to do with it.
On the current one.
So it still says
You
it's.
can't change it, no, no.
So you mean the proposed budget you would drop 20,000? Or the
What I'm
current?
saying is our fund balance is not gonna be as large as we, our fund balance will not increase as much as we think it's gonna increase because of that. Our fund balance will probably be negative.
Will be 20,000 missing. Yeah, because we didn't get that 20,000 this fiscal year, what we told we would get. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And there's drops in other
Because we
accounts.
included the 20,000 as our total budget.
That we're gonna spend, yes. So you're proposing to drop the proposed budget and to compensate?
No, it's okay, I mean, it is what it is, it's just. We're just gonna not, our fund balance is not gonna increase, it's gonna decrease.
Well,
So our
yeah.
piggy bank is gonna get smaller.
We're at 6 months right now?
5.
5.5, what you said, 5.5.
160
That will put
days.
us at 4.5 months?
No, we have a month and a half for the end of the fiscal year.
No, but I mean, the amount of
How many
operating
payrolls
budget.
do you have left?
2.
3.
3 payrolls, right? So, I think we'll lose close to $75,000 this year.
All costs.
Don't forget, while we're still discussing this, we still have to set the tax rate.
I'm not gonna discuss it.
Yes, yeah. I'm not saying leave this, Mike, because I know you're over there working with the calculator, working your magic with the calculator. Just use some more magic, what we do, still need to do the tax rate.
Everybody just pray that there's just pins to replace in
Yeah.
fire hydrants.
Yes.
The current tax rate is .354124.
I haven't read the item yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We need to get the priest to come out and bless all the fire hydrants. Again. Okay. Are we ready? Item B, discussion, consideration, action to set the 2019 ad valorem tax rate and set public hearing date and time. Now, Orlando.
The current rate is .0354124. I broke it down and I put the percentages so you can see the difference. M&O, that's, so every time somebody pays their tax bill, on the current budget, 90.30% of that bill goes to M&O. 9.70 goes to the INS fund. That INS fund is a separate fund. It's set aside to pay for the certificates of obligation commitments the city has. This year was 111, I believe this coming year is gonna be 110,000. So this is set aside. Based on the discussion you had at the last meeting, you said, we just keep the current tax rate
On the balance of 14,000 that we have on INS, Mike suggested, let's use 7,000. So, the 14,000 that we're gonna have on the INS fund effective October 1st, we're pulling 7,000 from that 14,000, they're gonna balance 7,000. So, the amount of the tax rate for INS becomes slightly less. So we're gonna be generating 105,000 and using 7,000 from the balance, it's gonna be over 112,000. You know, the payment is due, it's 110,000. So what happens, if you notice the difference here, between the current and the proposed, the same tax rate, but you notice a drop in the INS fund from 9.70 to 9.20. And you see that increase in M&O from 90.30 to 90.80. So you see that slight increase going to operations and a slight decrease on INS. So we're putting more money in operations and slightly less in INS, keeping the same current tax rate. I might add, this is the first time, for some of you that are newcomers, that we actually adopt, or that you're considering adopting a current tax rate. The last 3 years, the effective tax rate has been adopted, meaning the rate to generate the same amount as the previous year. So this is the first time that discussion about keeping the same rate. What happened in this, because state law says if you don't adopt the effective tax rate, you have to have public hearings. And there's a timeline. You can't have them one day from one meeting to the other. They're saying there's between 3 to 20 days, right, Armand? So that means if you want to move forward on this, we're going to put a notice in tomorrow's paper. All of you have to vote. It's going to show a public vote, how you voted. That ad will be in the paper tomorrow. We have to have one item next Tuesday's agenda, public hearing. Allow the public to give their comments. So any questions about the current rate compared to the proposed rate?
So we would have it on our meeting the 10th.
On the
Not
third
next
and the
Tuesday.
10th.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sorry?
We have to have it
On the third.
Next Tuesday. One item. It can be, we can have it in the
Okay, so
morning,
you have
at
to have
noon,
two
and after
meetings.
work,
Oh.
as long as there's a public hearing.
3 meetings.
So we have one next Tuesday, one at the 10th,
And then the 16th the following week.
so we'll just do a quick
Well,
one
the
line.
third, the
item.
10th, the 17th.
Yeah, one item.
And we can
Open it
maybe
up
split
and
it up and
that's it.
just have a quorum, you know.
Absolutely, no action. Just open it up for people to share their comments.
Because the third is the first public hearing and the second public hearing is on the 10th,
On our
and
meeting.
on the 17th we adopt.
Right.
And that's to keep the tax rate the same.
No, that is keeping it the same.
That's what I'm saying, that's in order to keep the
We have
tax
to do
rate.
the two public hearings.
Yeah.
And it used to be we could do the public hearing and adopt it within the same meeting, and now we can't, which is why we've gone into 3 meetings.
Can we make a motion?
I don't know if Mike's finished.
No, you're making
Working magic.
Yeah, how do I have to work this? I make a motion
Because
to.
we need a number.
I make a motion
Unicorn does.
to keep.
No,
the-
I'm saying for the motion.
Help me out here. I make a motion to adopt the current tax rate.
What's the
at-
number?
You have to say the number.
At what is, which one is it? 0354124.
354,
124. That's correct, right?
and the breakdown?
And the
M&O.
M&O, it's gonna be 0.321574, and then the INS is gonna be 0.032550.
Second.
Motion on the floor made by Councilwoman Smith, seconded by Councilman Worrell to adopt the proposed tax rate at 0.354124.
Mayor Houston,
Yes.
Councilmember Carter,
Yeah.
Councilmember Howard,
Yes.
Councilmember Davalos,
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez,
Yes.
Councilmember Warren,
Yes.
Councilmember Smith.
Yes.
have anything on here to set the meetings.
Yeah, it is, it's right, it's part of that, so we should just do it.
Okay, hearing date and time. Okay. So we all heard that, we all voted, right?
I make a motion to set the hearing date for Tuesday, the 3rd of September at
That should have been part of that motion, shouldn't it?
Yeah,
Can we do it?
we can.
So-
What's the time before you make the motion?
Well, we were
It's
thinking
gonna
it's in the
take-
morning.
10 minutes.
I can't remember.
You gotta have a forum, right?
We just need a quorum, and it's gonna be just
Yeah,
10
you'll just tell
minutes.
me.
Okay.
I don't know, you can be here anytime.
I'll go whatever it is, I don't care,
You can come whenever?
whatever.
So then you guys don't even have to worry, the 3 of us can come. Oh, that's not fair. You can come. Oh.
Unless I'm fishing.
It'll be next Tuesday, it'll be.
I mean, we can do a quick meeting at 10 a.m.
On Tuesday the 3rd?
Yeah. Or at 6. I'm just saying something, a way to get it out of the
Do it in
way.
the morning.
No, get out of the way. Let us know what you guys do.
So is your
But
motion
that means you
at
have to
10?
come to the next one.
Ah.
You guys fall in the
6 o'clock.
17th.
Okay,
Ah.
so are we withdrawing the first motion and then, or doing the second motion?
Do you want to withdraw your first motion?
I withdraw my first motion.
Okay, so then you just repeat it, but I got the minutes.
So September the 3rd, but we need a
10 a.m.
second day. And then that would be at our regular meeting, right?
So should I
September the
just?
3rd.
September the 3rd at 10 o'clock. And then our second meeting would be at
September the 10th.
at our regular meeting. And then the next one
September
is the
That's
17th.
No, no, we're just setting the two hearings,
Okay.
which is the 3rd and the 10th.
Okay.
Well, the 17th, we need another meeting, which you are guys gonna go to.
That's the adoption. We don't need to set, we're just setting the hearings.
We just have the first, okay, so your amended
So the
motion.
motion on the
Okay, so
floor.
my motion reads to adopt the proposed tax rate at all, you have all the numbers.
Uh-huh.
And the first hearing is set for September the 3rd at 10 a.m. Second hearing is set for September the 10th at 6.
September the 10th.
You're okay with
My
that?
second stance.
Oh, your second stance, okay. So.
Mayor Houston?
Yes.
Councilmember Carter?
Yes.
Councilmember Howard? Councilmember Davalos?
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilmember Worm?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Okay, so then the second hearing we come to, the ones that.
Yeah.
It's on the,
It's our
it's on
regular.
the 10th.
Yeah, it's our town council.
That's our regular
It's
meeting.
adoption. You guys.
So who's coming to the adoption?
Wait, the adoption.
On the
That'll be
17th.
on the 17th. But we won't do that till our regular town council meeting. We'll have that on that agenda. You're coming, and you're coming on the 3rd, and you're coming on the 3rd, and you're
Somebody
coming
call
on the
me.
3rd, it'll be ready.
Please.
Otherwise, so
I'm
you
going.
said I'll put it in.
Yeah, me too,
October
please.
3rd.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
At
I did, she did.
8:48. Motion to adjourn, Councilman Davalos, second by Councilman Smith, at 8:48.
Mayor Houston?
Yes.
Councilmember Carter?
Yes.
Councilmember Howard? Councilmember Davalos?
Yes.
Councilmember Gonzalez?
Yes.
Councilmember Worm?
Yes.
Councilmember Smith?
Motion passes.
So it's 3:10:17. So you
Yes.
When he's getting his,